The rain-slicked edge of the galactic Unity Tower offers Phoebe a final, fatal step. 200 stories below, the neon-lit streets of New Seattle blur through sheets of falling water. Phoebe's iridescent blue skin shimmers under the harsh glare of floodlights as she teeters on the precipice, her large eyes fixed on the dizzying drop. Sergeant Noah Freeman's boots splash through puddles as he patrols the streets below. His eyes, hardened by the horrors of the Proxima Centauri conflict, scan the towering structures above. A flicker of movement catches his attention. There, silhouetted against the stormy sky, a figure stands poised on the edge of the galactic Unity Tower. Noah's military training kicks in. He recognizes the telltale signs of someone in crisis, the rigid posture, the slight swaying. Without hesitation, he sprints toward the tower's entrance. His Terran Defense Force credentials override security protocols, granting him instant access. Inside, Noah bypasses the elevators and heads straight for the emergency stairwell. He takes the steps 3 at a time, his muscular frame propelling him upward at a breakneck pace. As he climbs, memories of the human-Nigen war flash through his mind. The brutal conflict ended just 5 years ago, leaving both species battered and forced into an uneasy alliance against the looming threat of the Zorn Empire. Noah's breath comes in ragged gasps as he pushes himself to the limit. He knows the stakes extend beyond a single life. The figure on the ledge could be anyone. But in this era of fragile interspecies relations, every interaction carries weight. Sweat mingles with rainwater on Noah's face as he reaches the roof access door. He pauses for a split second, steeling himself for what lies beyond. With a forceful shove, he bursts onto the rain-lashed roof. There on the edge stands Phoebe. Her slim form trembles against the backdrop of New Seattle's skyline. Noah's trained eye takes in every detail. The subtle markings on her blue skin identify her as half-Nigen. Her posture speaks of years of pain and discrimination, a burden Noah understands all too well. Phoebe turns, startled by Noah's sudden appearance. Their eyes lock. In that moment, Noah sees the depth of her despair. He recognizes it as a reflection of his own struggles, the weight of being caught between two worlds. The wind howls around them, threatening to push Phoebe over the edge. Noah takes a cautious step forward, his hands raised in a non-threatening gesture. He opens his mouth to speak, knowing his next words could determine the fate of not just Phoebe, but potentially the delicate balance between humans and Nigens. Rain pelts their faces as human and half-Nigen face each other on the precipice. The neon glow of New Seattle paints the scene in surreal hues, a stark reminder of how far both species have come since the war. Yet here, high above the sprawling metropolis of Novaterra, the true test of their progress hangs in the balance. Noah takes another step, his combat-honed instincts now focused on a different kind of battle. He must find a way to reach Phoebe, to pull her back from the brink. As the daughter of the Nigen ambassador to Earth, her life carries political weight. But to Noah, she's simply a soul in need, a kindred spirit lost in the chaos of a post-war world. The fate of two individuals, and perhaps two species, teeters on the edge of the galactic Unity Tower as Noah prepares to make his move. Noah's eyes locked with Phoebe's, their gazes bridging the gap between them. He took a measured breath, steadying himself against the howling wind. With deliberate slowness, he inched forward, his hands still raised in a placating gesture. "I'm Sergeant Noah Freeman, Terran Defense Force," he called out, his voice calm and steady despite the tempest around them. "I'm here to help." Phoebe's eyes widened at his approach. She turned slightly, revealing a face streaked with tears and rain. The anguish in her expression was palpable, a raw wound laid bare. Before Noah could take another step, a violent gust of wind tore across the rooftop. Phoebe's slender form wavered, her feet losing purchase on the slick ledge. Time seemed to stretch as she began to tilt backward, gravity reaching up to claim her. In that instant, Noah's military-enhanced reflexes kicked into overdrive. He lunged forward, covering the distance between them in a heartbeat. His hands shot out, fingers closing around Phoebe's arm just as she began to fall. With a grunt of effort, he pulled her back from the brink, his augmented strength easily countering her weight. The momentum of Noah's rescue sent them both tumbling onto the roof. They hit the ground hard, Noah instinctively wrapping his body around Phoebe's to shield her from the impact. They skidded across the wet surface, coming to a stop several feet from the edge. For a moment, they lay there, rain pelting their intertwined forms. Noah felt Phoebe's rapid heartbeat against his chest, her alien physiology both familiar and foreign. Her iridescent blue skin shimmered with a faint bioluminescence, pulsing in time with her ragged breaths. As the adrenaline of the near fall began to fade, Noah became acutely aware of their proximity. Phoebe's body trembled against his, whether from cold, fear, or something else. He couldn't be sure. A sweet, unfamiliar scent wafted from her skin, triggering an unexpected stirring within him. Pushing aside the sudden rush of attraction, Noah carefully disentangled himself and helped Phoebe to her feet. Her slim form shook visibly, prompting Noah to shrug off his jacket. He draped it over her shoulders, the simple act of kindness seeming to break something loose within her. Phoebe's composure crumbled. She collapsed against Noah's chest, her body racked with deep heaving sobs. Noah found himself holding her, his arms encircling her trembling form. His training on interspecies relations felt woefully inadequate in the face of this raw emotional outpouring. I'm sorry, Phoebe choked out between sobs. I couldn't. It's okay, Noah murmured, his hand moving in small circles on her back. You're safe now. Just breathe. As Phoebe's sobs gradually subsided, she began to speak in halting fragments. Noah listened intently, piecing together a picture of isolation and pain. She spoke of the constant discrimination she faced as a half-breed, never fully accepted by humans or Nigeans. The crushing loneliness of existing between two worlds, belonging to neither. Noah felt a deep resonance with her words. His own experiences as a veteran of the human-Nigean war had left him feeling similarly adrift. He found himself sharing bits of his own story, creating a fragile connection between them. As the rain began to taper off, Noah gently suggested they leave the roof. Phoebe nodded, her energy seeming to have drained away with her tears. Noah kept his arm around her shoulders as he guided her toward the roof access door, acutely aware of the alien texture of her skin beneath his fingers. They had barely taken 3 steps when the door burst open with a metallic clang. Noah's combat instincts flared as a group of Nigean security personnel poured onto the roof, energy weapons at the ready. At their head strode a tall, imposing figure that Noah instantly recognized from countless news broadcasts. Ambassador Zorax, Phoebe's father. The ambassador's eyes narrowed as he took in the scene before him. His gaze flicked from Phoebe's tear-stained face to Noah's protective stance, lingering on the sergeant's arm around his daughter's shoulders. "What is the meaning of this?" Zorax demanded, his hand hovering near the ornate energy pistol at his hip. The security team fanned out, their weapons trained on Noah. Phoebe shrank back against Noah's chest, her fingers clutching at his shirt. The fear and tension radiating from her was palpable. Noah felt her tremble as she whispered, "Please, don't let them take me." Noah's mind raced. The situation had escalated from a personal crisis to a potential diplomatic incident in the blink of an eye. He knew his next words and actions could have far-reaching consequences for human-Nigean relations. Taking a deep breath, Noah squared his shoulders and met Ambassador Zorax's resolute expression. He kept his voice level and respectful as he began to speak, acutely aware of the delicate balance he needed to maintain. "Ambassador Zorax, I'm Sergeant Noah Freeman of the Terran Defense Force. I apologize for any alarm we may have caused. Your daughter was in distress, and I was fortunate enough to be in a position to offer assistance." The ambassador's expression remained impassive, but Noah caught a flicker of something, concern, suspicion, in his alien eyes. Zorax took a step forward, his imposing figure casting a long shadow in the fading stormlight. "Is this true, Phoebe?" he asked, his tone softer, but still permeated with authority. Noah felt Phoebe tense against him. She lifted her head, meeting her father's gaze with a mixture of defiance and fear. The rooftop fell silent as father and daughter regarded each other, the weight of unspoken words hanging heavy in the air between them. Phoebe's voice quavered as she finally broke the tense silence. "It's true, Father. Sergeant Freeman saved my life." Her eyes darted between Noah and her father, a mix of fear and persistence etched across her features. Ambassador Zorax's stern expression softened almost imperceptibly. He took a step closer, his towering form casting a long shadow over Noah and Phoebe. "Explain yourself, child. What drove you to such desperate measures?" Phoebe opened her mouth to respond, but no words came out. She trembled against Noah, her fingers digging into his shirt. Noah felt a surge of protectiveness wash over him. "Ambassador," Noah interjected, his voice calm but firm. "With all due respect, this might not be the best place for such a discussion. Perhaps we could move somewhere more private." Zorax's eyes narrowed, studying Noah intently. After a moment, he nodded. "A wise suggestion, Sergeant. We will continue this conversation in a more appropriate setting." He turned to his security team, issuing rapid-fire orders in the clicking Naijian language. The group made their way to a secure conference room within the Galactic Unity Tower, the ambassador's security detail forming a protective ring around them. Noah kept his arm around Phoebe, acutely aware of her alien warmth against his side. Once inside the stark minimalist room, Ambassador Zorax dismissed his security team with a wave of his hand. As the door sealed shut behind them, he turned to Noah. "Your assistance is appreciated, Sergeant Freeman, but this is a family matter. You may take your leave." Noah hesitated, glancing at Phoebe. Her eyes widened in panic, and she gripped his arm tighter. "Please," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Don't go." The ambassador's antennae twitched in irritation. "Phoebe, release the sergeant at once. This behavior is unbecoming of—" "No!" Phoebe's outburst echoed through the room, startling both Noah and her father. "I won't let you send him away. He's the only one who's shown me any kindness in years." Zorax recoiled as if struck. "What are you saying, child?" Phoebe took a shaky breath, her luminescent skin pulsing with agitation. "I'm saying that I don't feel safe in your home anymore, Father. The constant discrimination, the whispers, the stares, I can't take it anymore. I don't belong anywhere, not with humans, not with Nagians. I'm just a half-breed freak to everyone." The ambassador's face contorted in a mixture of shock and dismay. "Phoebe, I had no idea. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have listened?" Phoebe's voice was bitter. "You're always so busy with your diplomatic duties. When was the last time you really looked at me, Father?" Noah stood silently, feeling like an intruder in this family drama. Yet he couldn't bring himself to leave Phoebe's side. The raw pain in her voice resonated with his own experiences as a veteran struggling to readjust to civilian life. Ambassador Zorax paced the room, his ornate robes swishing with each step. Noah could almost see the gears turning in the diplomat's mind. Finally, Zorax stopped, fixing Noah with an intense stare. "Sergeant Freeman, I find myself in need of your services once again," he said, his tone carefully measured. "I propose that you be assigned as Phoebe's personal security detail. Your presence seems to comfort her, and your unique background as a human veteran could prove valuable in bridging our cultures." Noah blinked, caught off guard by the sudden proposal. He glanced at Phoebe, who looked equally surprised. The assignment would undoubtedly be challenging, especially given his growing attraction to her. But he couldn't deny the opportunity it presented, a chance to make a real difference in human-Nigan relations. I would be honored, Ambassador," Noah said, straightening his posture, "if Phoebe is comfortable with the arrangement." Phoebe nodded, a small smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. "I am." As the ambassador began making calls to formalize Noah's new position, Phoebe suddenly swayed on her feet. Noah caught her before she could fall, alarmed by the sudden heat radiating from her skin. "She needs medical attention," Noah said urgently. "The stress of tonight's events—" Zorax cut him off with a sharp gesture, already speaking rapidly into his communicator. Within minutes, a Naijian doctor materialized in the room, medical scanner in hand. The doctor's examination was swift but thorough. His expression grew increasingly grave as he worked, mandibles clicking in agitation. Finally, he turned to address the ambassador and Noah. "Ambassador, your daughter's condition is unique," the doctor said, choosing his words carefully. "Her hybrid physiology is causing unforeseen complications. The human and Nigean aspects of her biology are not integrating properly, leading to a potentially life-threatening situation." Yora's normally composed facade cracked, revealing the worried father beneath. "What can be done?" The doctor shook his head. "She requires specialized treatment, a combination of human and Nigean medical knowledge. Unfortunately, this field is still in its infancy due to the recent nature of our alliance." Noah felt Phoebe's grip on his hand tighten. He squeezed back reassuringly, his mind already racing through potential solutions. "Ambassador," he said, an idea forming, "with your permission, I'd like to reach out to some of my contacts in the Terran Defense Force. We might be able to find specialists who can help." Jorax nodded, his relief palpable. "Yes, of course. I will do the same on the Nigean side. We must spare no effort in finding a cure." As plans were set in motion and the first rays of dawn began to peek through the conference room's windows, Noah found himself at the center of a situation far more complex than he could have imagined when he first spotted Phoebe on that rain-slick ledge. He looked down at Phoebe, who had fallen into an uneasy sleep on a hastily procured medical cot. Her iridescent skin shimmered with each labored breath, a tangible reminder of the challenges that lay ahead. Noah gently brushed a strand of hair from her face, acutely aware of the weight of his new responsibilities. Ambassador Zorax approached, his expression unreadable. "Sergeant Freeman," he said quietly, "I am entrusting you with my daughter's safety and well-being. Do not make me regret this decision." Noah met the ambassador's gaze steadily. "I won't let you down, sir. Or Phoebe." As the room buzzed with activity, doctors conferring, diplomats negotiating, and security personnel coordinating, Noah settled into a chair beside Phoebe's cot. He took her hand in his, marveling at the stark contrast between his tanned skin and her luminescent blue. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he was committed to seeing them through. The sun rose over New Seattle, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold. For Noah and Phoebe, it marked the dawn of a new chapter, one filled with uncertainty, danger, and the faintest glimmer of hope. Hope. As Noah gazed at the sleeping form of Phoebe, her iridescent skin pulsing with each labored breath, he knew their journey was not nearly finished. The tranquil moment was shattered by the sudden burst of activity in the conference room. Noah's military-honed instincts kicked into high gear as he observed the flurry of movement around him. Ambassador Zorax was speaking rapidly into his communicator, his antennae twitching with impossibly strong anxiety. Doctors and diplomats rushed in and out, their urgent whispers creating a cacophony of concern. Noah squeezed Phoebe's hand gently before standing up, his mind already racing through potential solutions. He approached the ambassador, who had just ended his call. "Sir," Noah said, his voice low and steady, "I'd like to reach out to some of my contacts in the Terran Defense Force. We might be able to find specialists who can help with Phoebe's condition." Zorax nodded, his relief palpable. "Yes, of course. I will do the same on the Nigean side. We must act quickly." Without hesitation, Noah pulled out his own communicator and dialed a number he hadn't used in years. After a few tense moments, a gruff voice answered. "Hawthorne here. This better be important, Freeman." "Colonel, it's Sergeant Noah Freeman. I need your help. It's a matter of life and death, sir." As Noah explained the situation, he could hear the colonel's breath catch. When he finished, there was a moment of silence before Hawthorne spoke again. "I'll make some calls, Freeman. Sit tight." Within hours, a plan was set in motion. Ambassador Zorax had arranged for Phoebe to be transferred to the Interspecies Medical Research Center on the outskirts of New Seattle. Noah insisted on accompanying her during the transfer, his protective instincts on high alert as they loaded her onto a specialized medical transport. The IMRC was a marvel of modern architecture, its sleek lines and advanced technology a testament to the progress made in human-Nigean relations. As they rushed Phoebe through the facility's stark white corridors, Noah couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope. Dr. Alara Tassoni, a tall Nigean with striking purple skin, met them at the entrance to the intensive care unit. Her multiple eyes darted between Noah and Ambassador Zorax before settling on Phoebe's unconscious form. "I've reviewed her case," Dr. Tassoni said, her voice a melodious blend of clicks and whispers. "Her condition is unique. We'll need to act fast." As they settled Phoebe into a high-tech medical pod, Dr. Tassoni explained the complexity of the situation. Her human and Nigean DNA are causing a rare autoimmune response. Her body is essentially attacking itself, leading to organ failure. Noah felt his heart sink, but he forced himself to focus. "What can we do?" Dr. Tassoni's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "I propose an experimental treatment. We'll need to synthesize a unique enzyme to help Phoebe's body integrate her dual heritage. It's risky, but it may be our only option." As the doctor spoke, a memory stirred in Noah's mind. "Doctor, I may know someone who can help. During the war, there was a scientist working on genetic modifications for soldiers, Dr. Hiroaki Tanaka. His research might be applicable here." Ambassador Zorax's antennae twitched with interest. "Can you contact this Dr. Tanaka?" Noah nodded, already pulling out his communicator. "I'll try, sir." The call to Dr. Tanaka was tense. The scientist was initially hesitant, his work during the war a sensitive subject. But as Noah explained the urgency of the situation and its potential to improve interspecies relations, Tanaka's resistance crumbled. "I'll be there as soon as I can," Tanaka promised. As they waited for Dr. Tanaka to arrive, Noah refused to leave Phoebe's side. He watched her chest rise and fall, each breath a battle. Ambassador Zorax paced the room, his agitation growing with each passing hour. "Sergeant Freeman," the ambassador said, his voice tight with scarcely controlled emotion, "I appreciate your dedication to my daughter, but perhaps it would be best if you took some rest. You've done more than enough." Noah met the ambassador's gaze steadily. "With all due respect, sir, I made a promise to Phoebe. I'm not leaving her side until she's out of danger." The tension between them was palpable, a complex mix of gratitude and discomfort. Before Zorax could respond, Dr. Tassoni entered the room, followed by a short, wiry human with a shock of gray hair. "Dr. Tanaka," Noah said, standing to greet the scientist. "Thank you for coming." Tanaka nodded curtly, his eyes already fixed on the medical readouts surrounding Phoebe's pod. "Let's get to work." The next few days passed in a blur of activity. Noah watched as Dr. Tassoni and Dr. Tanaka worked tirelessly, their initial mistrust giving way to a grudging respect as they combined their knowledge and skills. During rare moments of quiet, Noah found himself learning more about Phoebe's past. Conversations with the medical staff and overheard snippets of the ambassador's calls painted a picture of a lonely childhood, caught between two worlds that never fully accepted her. As Phoebe's condition continued to worsen, the pressure mounted. Noah's presence at the facility had not gone unnoticed, and reporters began to gather outside, speculating about the nature of his relationship with the ambassador's daughter. Just as the situation seemed most dire, Dr. Tassoni and Dr. Tanaka made a breakthrough. They had successfully synthesized the enzyme, but they needed a compatible donor to complete the treatment. "We've run tests on both you and the ambassador," Dr. Tassoni explained, her multiple eyes blinking rapidly. "And we've made a rather surprising discovery." Noah leaned forward, his heart racing. "What is it?" Dr. Tanaka cleared his throat, looking uncomfortable. "It's your DNA, Sergeant Freeman. The genetic modifications you received during your military service, they've made you paradoxically more compatible with Phoebe's hybrid physiology than her own father's pure Nigean DNA." The room fell silent as the implications of this revelation sank in. Ambassador Zorax was the first to speak, his voice tight with almost unchecked emotion. "Absolutely not," he said, his antennae quivering. "We cannot introduce more human genetic material into my daughter's system. It's too risky." Noah stood, his decision already made. "With all due respect, Ambassador, if my DNA can save Phoebe's life, I'm willing to take that risk. The choice should be hers." As if on cue, the medical pod's alarms began to blare. Phoebe's vital signs were plummeting. Dr. Tassoni rushed to the pod, her fingers flying over the controls. "We're out of time," she said, her voice urgent. We need to make a decision now. Noah looked at Ambassador Zorax, seeing the conflict raging behind the Nigian's compound eyes. The fate of Phoebe hung in the balance, along with the potential ramifications for human-Nigian relations. Please, Noah said softly, let me help her. The ambassador's shoulders slumped in defeat. He gave a small nod, his voice barely above a whisper. Do it. As the medical team sprang into action, preparing for the risky procedure, Noah felt a strange mix of fear and willpower coursing through him. He looked down at Phoebe's pale face, silently promising her that he would do whatever it took to bring her back. The future was uncertain, filled with challenges they had yet to face. But in that moment, as the doctors began the delicate process of integrating Noah's DNA into the enzyme treatment, one thing was clear. Nothing would ever be the same again. The medical team sprang into action, their movements precise and urgent. Noah felt a rush of adrenaline as he was quickly ushered into an adjacent room for examination. Dr. Tisoni's multiple eyes darted between him and the various screens displaying his vital signs. Sergeant Freeman, we need to ensure your compatibility before we proceed, she explained, her voice a mix of clicks and whispers. The extraction process will be uncomfortable. Noah nodded, his eyebrows furrowed. I understand, Doctor. Do what you need to do. As the medical staff swarmed around him, Noah caught glimpses of Dr. Tanaka hunched over a complex array of equipment, his fingers flying across holographic interfaces as he worked to refine the enzyme synthesis process. The air was thick with tension, the weight of Phoebe's life hanging in the balance. In the main treatment room, Ambassador Zorax paced restlessly, his antennae twitching with scarcely controlled anxiety. He watched as the medical team fought to stabilize his daughter's rapidly deteriorating condition. Phoebe's skin, once a vibrant blue, had faded to a sickly pale hue. The sight of her lying motionless in the medical pod sent a wave of anguish through the ambassador. Please, he whispered, his voice breaking, save my daughter. As if in response to her father's plea, Phoebe's vital signs suddenly plummeted. Alarms blared throughout the facility, their urgent wails echoing off the sterile walls. Dr. Tisoni rushed back to Phoebe's side, barking orders to her team. We're losing her. Begin emergency organ support procedures. Now! Noah, still undergoing his own examinations, felt his heart race at the commotion. He locked eyes with Ambassador Zorax through the glass partition separating the rooms. In that moment, a silent understanding passed between them, a shared desperation to save Phoebe at any cost. With Phoebe stabilized but still critical, the focus shifted to Noah. He was led to a specially designed chamber, its interior lined with pulsing blue energy fields. As he stepped inside, Noah felt a tingling sensation across his skin. Prepare for extraction, Dr. Tanaka's voice came through the intercom. Sergeant Freeman, try to remain as still as possible. The chamber hummed to life, and Noah gritted his teeth as waves of discomfort washed over him. It felt as if every cell in his body was being pulled apart and reassembled. He clenched his fists, forcing himself to endure the pain. Outside the chamber, Dr. Tisoni monitored the extraction process closely. His enhanced physiology is complicating the procedure, she muttered to Dr. Tanaka. We may need to increase the intensity. As the extraction continued, Noah's vision began to blur. The discomfort escalated to searing pain, and he bit back a cry. Through the haze, he focused on the image of Phoebe's face, using it as an anchor to maintain his perseverance. After what felt like hours, the chamber powered down. Noah stumbled out, barely able to stand. Medical staff rushed to support him, guiding him to a nearby bed. Extraction complete, Dr. Tanaka announced, his voice tense with concentration, beginning integration with the synthesized enzyme. Noah watched through half-lidded eyes as Dr. Tanaka and his team worked feverishly over a series of complex machines. The air crackled with energy as human and Nigian technologies merged, creating something entirely new. Suddenly, a triumphant shout echoed through the facility. It's done, Dr. Tanaka exclaimed, holding up a vial of shimmering, iridescent liquid. Without wasting a moment, Dr. Tisoni took the vial and hurried to Phoebe's side. With practiced precision, she connected it to the specialized intravenous system. The glowing liquid began to flow into Phoebe's veins, spreading throughout her body like a luminescent web. For several tense minutes, nothing seemed to change. Ambassador Zorax pressed his hands against the glass, his compound eyes fixed on his daughter's still form. Noah, fighting against his own exhaustion, pushed himself up to watch. Then, almost imperceptibly at first, color began to return to Phoebe's skin. The sickly pallor gave way to a soft blue glow, growing stronger with each passing moment. Her chest rose and fell with more regularity, and the constant beeping of the medical monitors began to stabilize. A collective sigh of relief swept through the room. Dr. Tissoni's mandibles clicked rapidly as she examined the readouts. "It's working," she announced. "Her body's accepting the treatment." As Phoebe's condition improved, Noah felt a wave of dizziness wash over him. He slumped back onto the bed, his vision swimming. Dr. Tanaka rushed to his side, concern etched on his face. "Sergeant Freeman's showing signs of genetic instability," he called out. "The extraction process may have destabilized his enhancements." Noah's world spun as the medical team surrounded him, their voices a distant buzz. Through the fog of his discomfort, he saw Ambassador Zorax watching him with an unreadable expression. As the hours passed, Phoebe's recovery continued steadily. Her bioluminescence, which had dimmed to near darkness, began to pulse with renewed strength. Noah, however, found himself grappling with unexpected side effects. His enhanced strength wavered, and he experienced moments of disorientation. Dr. Tanaka worked tirelessly to stabilize Noah's condition, muttering theories about the interaction between the extraction process and his genetic enhancements. Ambassador Zorax, witnessing Noah's struggle, found his perception of the human soldier shifting. The ambassador approached Noah's bedside, his antennae twitching with a mix of emotions. "Sergeant Freeman," he said softly, I cannot fully express my gratitude for what you've done." Noah managed a weak smile. "It was the right thing to do, sir." Before the ambassador could respond, a commotion at the facility's entrance drew their attention. A group of uniformed officials from both the Terran Defense Force and the Nigean Diplomatic Corps strode in, their faces grim with purpose. At the head of the human contingent was General Aldrich Stromwell, his intense look sweeping the room. "We need to talk about the security implications of this situation," he announced, his voice brooking no argument. Senior diplomat Vexara, leading the Nigean officials, stepped forward. "And we must discuss the potential effects on Ambassador Zorax's daughter and her heritage," she added, her multiple eyes narrowing. As tensions began to rise, Phoebe stirred on her medical bed. Her eyes fluttered open, taking in the scene around her. Her gaze landed on Noah, and she reached out weakly, her fingers brushing against his hand. In that moment of connection, as human and Nigean officials argued in the background, Noah and Phoebe shared a look of understanding. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, bound by more than just shared DNA. DNA. The word echoed in Noah's mind as he drifted in and out of consciousness. He could feel something changing within him, a subtle shift in his very essence. Through the haze of his disorientation, he became acutely aware of Phoebe's presence, as if an invisible thread connected them. Dr. Tissoni's voice cut through the fog. "Incredible," she whispered, her multiple eyes wide with astonishment. "Their vital signs are synchronizing." Dr. Tanaka nodded, his fingers flying across a holographic display. "It's not just their vitals. Look at these brainwave patterns. They're mirroring each other." As the medical team huddled around their instruments, Noah felt a surge of emotion that wasn't his own. Fear, confusion, and a desperate longing washed over him. He turned his head, his gaze locking with Phoebe's across the room. In that moment, he knew she could feel him too. General Stromwell's commanding voice shattered the moment. "This facility is now under quarantine. No one in or out without my express authorization." Ambassador Zorax bristled, his antennae quivering with indignation. "You can't just—" "I can and I will," Stromwell interrupted. "This is a matter of interspecies security now." As the human and Nigean officials argued, Noah felt a wave of anxiety from Phoebe. Without thinking, he projected a sense of calm towards her. To his surprise, he felt her respond, her fear receding slightly. Dr. Tissoni approached the general, her voice low and urgent. We're dealing with an unprecedented phenomenon here. We're calling it genetic resonance. Their DNA isn't just compatible, it's actively adapting to each other. Stromwell's eyes narrowed. Potential weapons application? Sir, Noah called out, his voice hoarse. We're not weapons, we're people. The general turned, fixing Noah with a hard stare. Right now, Sergeant, you're a security risk. Ambassador Zorak stepped forward, his compound eyes reflecting the harsh light of the medical bay. If my daughter is to be quarantined, I insist on staying with her. Senior diplomat Vexara, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. Perhaps we can turn this crisis into an opportunity. I propose a joint research initiative to study this genetic resonance. After hours of tense negotiations, an agreement was reached. The Interspecies Medical Research Center would house Noah and Phoebe under strict quarantine, with a team of human and Nigean scientists studying their condition. As Noah was moved to a secure isolation room, he caught glimpses of the world outside through the facility's windows. News vans had gathered, their satellite dishes pointed skyward. He could see the signs of protesters, their messages a blur of color and anger. Inside his sterile new quarters, Noah found himself more attuned to Phoebe than ever. Though they were separated by walls, he could sense her presence, a comforting warmth in the back of his mind. As he drifted off to sleep, he found himself in a shared dreamscape, a place where their consciousnesses merged. In the dream, they stood together on a beach, the sand a mix of Earth's golden grains and the iridescent crystals of Nagia. Phoebe's bioluminescence pulsed gently, casting a soft blue light over them both. What's happening to us, honey? Phoebe asked, her voice echoing strangely in the dream. Noah shook his head. I don't know, but we'll figure it out together. As the days passed, the changes became more pronounced. Noah noticed a faint glow beneath his skin, while Phoebe found herself capable of feats of strength that would have been impossible before. They communicated without words, sharing thoughts and emotions across the distance that separated them. Dr. Tissoni and Dr. Tanaka worked tirelessly, running test after test. They marveled at the way Noah and Phoebe's physiologies were adapting, incorporating traits from each other's species. It's beautiful, Dr. Tissoni murmured, examining a holographic representation of their intertwined DNA. Their genetic structures are in perfect harmony. Dr. Tanaka nodded, but his expression was troubled. Beautiful, yes, but also potentially dangerous. We don't know the long-term effects of this integration. Outside the facility, the situation was growing tense. Anti-alien groups clashed with pro-integration activists, their shouts audible even through the thick walls of the quarantine zone. The Terran Defense Force and Nigean Embassy released carefully worded statements, revealing little but fueling speculation. Inside, Noah and Phoebe found solace in their shared connection. They spent hours in silent communion, exploring the depths of their bond. But with this intimacy came challenges. Memories, both joyous and painful, flowed between them. They felt each other's hopes and fears, loves and losses. Ambassador Zorax watched his daughter with a mix of wonder and apprehension. He saw the way she gravitated towards Noah, even when they were apart. He recognized the look in her eyes, a look that spoke of something deeper than mere scientific curiosity. As weeks turned into months, Dr. Tissoni made a breakthrough. We believe we can replicate the conditions that led to the genetic resonance, she announced to the assembled officials. This could revolutionize interspecies medicine. General Stromwell leaned forward, his eyes gleaming. And the military applications. Before Dr. Tissoni could respond, a new voice cut through the room. The applications go far beyond mere weaponry, General. All eyes turned to the newcomer. Dr. Lyra Vasquez strode in, her reputation preceding her. The controversial geneticist surveyed the room, her gaze lingering on Noah and Phoebe. What we have here, she said, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth, is the key to the next stage of human and Nigean evolution. Noah felt a chill run down his spine, a feeling echoed by Phoebe. As Dr. Vasquez began to outline her proposals, they shared a silent thought. Whatever came next would change not just their lives, but the future of both their species. Noah felt a wave of unease wash over him as Dr. Vasquez's words hung in the air. He could sense Phoebe's apprehension mirroring his own, their shared connection amplifying their concern. Dr. Vasquez wasted no time implementing her controversial research methods. Days blurred into weeks as Noah and Phoebe found themselves subjected to increasingly intense experiments. They were separated for long periods, their newfound telepathic link stretched to its limits. Noah paced in his sterile room, feeling phantom sensations of Phoebe's discomfort from across the facility. During one particularly grueling test, Noah was placed in a chamber designed to simulate extreme environmental conditions. As the temperature plummeted, he felt his body struggling to adapt. Suddenly, a surge of warmth flooded through him, and he realized Phoebe was unconsciously sharing her nausea and heat regulation abilities. Dr. Tassoni observed the readings with growing concern. Dr. Vasquez, these stress levels are dangerously high. We need to terminate the experiment. Not yet, Dr. Vasquez replied, her eyes fixed on the monitors. We're on the verge of a breakthrough. As the chamber's conditions intensified, Noah felt his consciousness slipping. The last thing he heard before blacking out was Phoebe's voice in his mind, calling his name. Noah awoke to the sound of urgent voices and beeping medical equipment. His vision swam into focus, revealing Dr. Tanaka and Dr. Tassoni hovering over him. What happened? Noah croaked, his throat dry. Dr. Tanaka's face was grim. You lost consciousness during the experiment. Phoebe experienced a sympathetic reaction. We had to stabilize both of you. Noah tried to sit up, panic rising in his chest. Phoebe, is she... She's recovering, Dr. Tassoni assured him, her mandibles clicking softly. But this incident has forced us to reevaluate Dr. Vasquez's methods. In the adjoining room, General Stromwell confronted Dr. Vasquez. Your experiments nearly killed them both, he growled. I'm suspending your research until further notice. Dr. Vasquez's eyes flashed with anger. You can't do that. We're on the brink of unlocking the secrets of interspecies genetic integration. The potential applications are not worth the risk of an interstellar incident, Stromwell cut her off. This is more than just a scientific endeavor, Doctor. It's a delicate diplomatic situation. As Noah regained his strength, he became aware of a new dimension to his connection with Phoebe. He could see through her eyes, feel the soft fabric of her medical gown against her skin. The sensation was disorienting but oddly comforting. Phoebe, he projected his thoughts tentatively. I'm here, her mental voice responded, tinged with relief and something deeper, warmer. Their recovery was slow, punctuated by a series of tests as Dr. Tassoni and Dr. Tanaka worked to understand the extent of their enhanced bond. Noah found himself lost in the sensory feedback loop between him and Phoebe, their experiences blending in a way that was both exhilarating and unsettling. Ambassador Zorax watched his daughter with growing unease. He approached senior diplomat Vexara, his antennae twitching nervously. We need to end this. I want to take Phoebe home. Vexara's compound eyes reflected the harsh lighting of the facility. It's not that simple, Ambassador. The humans won't release them until they understand what's happening. And frankly, neither will our government. Outside the facility, the situation was deteriorating. News of Noah and Phoebe's unique condition had leaked, fueling anti-alien sentiment. The shouts of protesters penetrated even the thick walls of the quarantine zone. Human DNA is sacred, one group chanted. No alien hybridization. Inside, Noah and Phoebe found solace in each other's presence, their shared mind space a refuge from the chaos around them. As they lay in their separate beds, their consciousness intertwined, they explored the contours of their new reality. I can feel everything you feel, Phoebe marveled, her mental voice filled with wonder. Noah sent back a wave of affection, tinged with uncertainty. It's incredible, but where does this leave us? Their growing closeness didn't go unnoticed. Dr. Vasquez, though sidelined, continued to observe their interactions with keen interest. She approached General Stromwell with a new proposal. We need to attempt to sever their connection, she argued. If we can understand how to break the bond, we can learn to control it. The suggestion sent shockwaves through the research team. Dr. Tassoni vehemently opposed the idea, while Dr. Tanaka remained cautiously open to the possibility. As the debate raged, Noah and Phoebe became aware of a new presence in the facility. Something felt off, a discordant note in the carefully controlled environment. "Do you feel that?" Noah projected to Phoebe. "Yes," she responded, her mental voice tense. "Something's wrong." Unbeknownst to the humans and Nigians, a team of Zorn Empire operatives had infiltrated the outer perimeter of the facility. Their cloaking technology rendered them nearly invisible to the building's security systems. Noah's enhanced senses, augmented by his connection to Phoebe, picked up subtle disturbances in the air. He tried to alert the guards, concentrating on projecting his thoughts beyond Phoebe, but their telepathic abilities remained limited to each other. The Zorn agents moved silently through the corridors, their goal clear: capture the two subjects of the genetic resonance experiment at any cost. In their separate rooms, Noah and Phoebe felt the approaching danger like a physical pressure. Their hearts raced in unison, adrenaline surging through their joined systems. "We have to do something," Phoebe's thoughts rang out, tinged with fear and dedication. Noah's military training kicked in. He scanned his room for anything that could be used as a weapon or to signal for help. "We need to alert security somehow. Can you reach any of the medical equipment?" As Phoebe began to respond, the door to Noah's room slid open with a hiss. A shimmer in the air betrayed the presence of a cloaked figure. Noah tensed, ready to fight, acutely aware that whatever happened to him would affect Phoebe as well. The Zorn agent decloaked, revealing a reptilian face and eyes that gleamed with cold intelligence. "Don't move," as it hissed, brandishing a weapon unlike anything Noah had seen before. In that moment, as the fate of two individuals and the delicate balance of interspecies relations hung in the balance, Noah and Phoebe's shared consciousness burned with a single thought: survival. Survival. It was the only thought that burned through Noah and Phoebe's shared consciousness as they faced the Zorn agent. In that moment of crisis, their bonds surged with newfound strength, flooding their senses with heightened awareness. Noah's military instincts kicked in. He subtly shifted his weight, ready to spring into action. Through their link, he felt Phoebe's fear mingling with tenacity. They needed to act, but more importantly, they needed to alert the others. With a quick mental exchange, they formulated a plan. Noah locked eyes with the Zorn agent, keeping its attention focused on him. "What do you want?" he asked, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. As the agent began to respond, Noah used the distraction to reach behind him, his fingers finding the control panel of his medical bed. With precise movements, he began to overload the system, causing the monitors to spike erratically. Simultaneously, Phoebe channeled her energy into her bioluminescent skin. In her room across the hall, she created a pulsing pattern of light visible through the observation window. The combination of Noah's sabotage and Phoebe's light show triggered a cascade of alarms throughout the facility. The Zorn agent's head snapped around, momentarily confused by the sudden cacophony. Noah seized the opportunity, lunging forward with enhanced speed and strength he didn't know he possessed. He tackled the agent, sending them both crashing to the floor. As they grappled, the facility erupted into chaos. Dr. Tassoni's voice cut through the din of alarms. "It's not a malfunction. Noah and Phoebe are trying to warn us." General Stromwell's gruff command followed. "Initiate lockdown protocol. All personnel, secure your stations." The sound of heavy boots echoed through the corridors as Terran Defense Force troops mobilized. But the Zorn infiltrators were prepared. A series of explosions rocked the building, plunging entire sections into darkness. Noah struggled with the Zorn agent in the dimly lit room, their enhanced senses allowing them to anticipate each other's moves. Through their bond, Phoebe channeled her strength to Noah, their shared adrenaline surge pushing their bodies to new limits. In the command center, Dr. Tanaka's fingers flew over the holographic interface. "General, we've lost power to the East Wing. The Zorn are using some kind of energy disruptor." Stromwell's face was grim in the emergency lighting. "Deploy countermeasures. We can't let them breach the quarantine zone." As Terran troops engaged the Zorn infiltrators throughout the facility, Noah finally gained the upper hand against his opponent. With a swift move, he rendered the agent unconscious, then turned his attention to escaping the room. In the darkened hallway, Noah was momentarily disoriented. Then a soft blue glow caught his eye. Phoebe had intensified her bioluminescence, creating a beacon for him to follow. He moved swiftly towards her, guided by their telepathic link. They reunited in the corridor, their relief palpable through their bond. "We need to find my father," Phoebe projected urgently. Noah nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. As they navigated the chaotic facility, they encountered pockets of resistance. Zorn agents clashed with Terran troops, energy weapons creating eerie light shows in the darkness. Noah and Phoebe moved in perfect synchronization, their shared senses allowing them to anticipate and avoid danger. They found Ambassador Zorax cornered by two Zorn infiltrators, his antennae twitching in distress. Without hesitation, Noah and Phoebe sprang into action. Noah engaged one agent in hand-to-hand combat, his movements fluid and precise. Phoebe used her bioluminescence to disorient the other, creating rapid flashes of light that left the Zorn agent momentarily stunned. As they fought, Noah felt a surge of unfamiliar energy coursing through him. His punches landed with incredible force, sending the Zorn agent reeling. Phoebe, too, found her abilities amplified. Her light pulses grew more intense, overwhelming the Zorn sensory systems. Ambassador Zorax watched in amazement as the human and his daughter worked in perfect harmony. His previous misgivings about their relationship began to crumble in the face of their extraordinary connection. With the immediate threat neutralized, Noah turned to the ambassador. "Are you all right, sir?" Zorax nodded, his eyes moving between Noah and Phoebe. Thank you, both of you." Their moment of respite was short-lived. A new presence entered their shared awareness. A mind filled with cold calculation and burning ambition. Dr. Vasquez had used the chaos to slip into the quarantine zone, her obsession with the genetic resonance experiment overriding all other concerns. They found her in the lab, preparing a syringe with trembling hands. "Don't move," she commanded, her voice strained. "This is too important to stop now. We're on the verge of something revolutionary." Noah and Phoebe exchanged a glance, their bond thrumming with shared persistence. They stepped forward in unison, their enhanced physiology allowing them to resist the sedative Vasquez attempted to administer. In the struggle that ensued, the syringe shattered, its contents splashing across Dr. Vasquez's skin. Her eyes widened in shock as the concentrated enzyme began to take effect. She collapsed to the floor, her mind suddenly bombarded with the full sensory and emotional impact of Noah and Phoebe's bond. As Vasquez writhed on the ground, her consciousness temporarily linked with theirs, Noah and Phoebe were hit with a wave of the doctor's memories and motivations. They saw her years of dedication, her belief in the potential of her work, and the ethical lines she had crossed in pursuit of her goals. The unexpected mental connection left them all reeling, but there was no time to process the implications. The facility shuddered under another assault, and the air filled with a strange, shimmering mist. "The containment systems," Phoebe gasped, recognizing the experimental gas from her father's briefings. Noah's military training kicked in once more. "We need to evacuate, now." As they helped the disoriented Dr. Vasquez to her feet, alarms blared with renewed urgency. General Stromwell's voice crackled over the intercom. "All personnel, this is not a drill. Initiate emergency evacuation procedures immediately." Noah and Phoebe shared a moment of silent communication, weighing their options. The Zorn agents were still at large. Vital research data lay unsecured, and the spreading gas posed an unknown threat to everyone in the facility. Their decision now would shape not just their own futures, but potentially the course of human-Nijin relations. With purpose burning in their joined minds, they stepped into the mist-filled corridor, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Time seemed to slow as Noah and Phoebe assessed their options, the mist swirling around them in ethereal patterns. Through their bond, they shared a moment of clarity. Evacuation had to be their top priority. We need to get everyone out, Noah projected to Phoebe, his thoughts tinged with urgency. Phoebe nodded, her bioluminescent skin pulsing in agreement. Let's use our connection to coordinate. You take the east wing, I'll handle the west. They moved swiftly, their enhanced senses allowing them to navigate the chaos with uncanny precision. Noah's military training kicked in as he guided panicked scientists and security personnel towards the emergency exits. His voice, steady and authoritative, cut through the din of alarms and shouts. This way! Move quickly but calmly, he called, ushering a group of researchers down a corridor. Meanwhile, Phoebe used her bioluminescence to create pulsing patterns that drew attention in the smoke-filled hallways. Her Nigean physiology allowed her to modulate the intensity and color of her glow, creating a beacon that both humans and her fellow Nigeans could follow. Follow the light, she projected, her mental voice reaching those nearby. Stay together and keep moving. As they worked, Noah and Phoebe remained acutely aware of each other's progress through their telepathic link. They coordinated their efforts seamlessly, redirecting personnel away from blocked passages and towards clear routes. Their efficiency didn't go unnoticed. General Stromwell, overseeing the evacuation from a makeshift command post, watched the security feeds with growing interest. Beside him, senior diplomat Vexara's antennae twitched in surprise. Remarkable, Vexara murmured. Their symbiosis is far more advanced than we anticipated. Stromwell grunted in agreement, his eyes never leaving the screens. If we can harness this capability... Their discussion was cut short as Noah's voice crackled over the comms. General, we've got a situation. Dr. Vasquez is down, exposed to a concentrated dose of the enzyme. Phoebe's thoughts filled Noah's mind. We can't leave her. She knows too much about our condition. Without hesitation, they changed course, fighting against the flow of evacuees to reach the lab where Vasquez lay unconscious. The air grew thicker with the experimental gas, causing Noah's vision to blur and Phoebe's skin to flicker erratically. As they lifted the doctor between them, a surge of foreign memories flooded their shared consciousness. Fragments of Vasquez's research, her motivations, and her growing ethical doubts flashed through their minds. This could be crucial, Noah thought, gritting his teeth against the mental onslaught. They half-carried, half-dragged Vasquez towards the exit, their progress slowed by her dead weight and the disorienting effects of the gas. Around them, chaos reigned as the facility's systems continued to malfunction. Suddenly, a group of Zorn infiltrators burst from a side corridor, their reptilian features twisted in willpower. One of them clutched a data drive, clearly stolen from the research archives. Noah's combat instincts flared. He gently lowered Vasquez to the ground, locking eyes with Phoebe. No words were needed, their bond hummed with shared purpose. As Noah launched himself at the Zorn leader, Phoebe's skin erupted in a dazzling display of strobing lights. The other Zorn agents reeled back, their sensitive eyes overwhelmed by the assault. Noah's fist connected with the Zorn leader's jaw, the impact far greater than he expected. His enhanced strength sent the alien sprawling, the stolen drive clattering across the floor. The fight intensified as more Zorn joined the fray. Noah moved with fluid grace, each punch and kick amplified by his augmented physiology. Phoebe's light show grew more complex, creating disorienting patterns that left the Zorn staggering and disoriented. As they fought, Noah and Phoebe became aware of changes in the personnel around them. A human security guard lifted a fallen beam with unexpected ease, while a Nigean medic seemed to anticipate the needs of her patients before they spoke. The gas, Phoebe projected to Noah, it's affecting everyone. Their moment of distraction cost them. A Zorn agent slipped past their defense, scooping up the fallen data drive. As he turned to flee, a figure emerged from the mist-filled corridor. Ambassador Zorak stood before them, his antennae quivering with a mix of fear and drive. Without hesitation, he stepped into the Zorn agent's path, using his considerable bulk to block the escape route. Enough, Zorax boomed, his voice carrying the full weight of his diplomatic authority. You will go no further. The Zorn hesitated, clearly unprepared for this turn of events. It was all the opening Noah and Phoebe needed. Moving in perfect synchronization, they flanked the agent. Noah's enhanced strength allowed him to easily subdue the Zorn, while Phoebe retrieved the stolen drive. As Terran security forces finally arrived to take custody of the Zorn infiltrators, Noah and Phoebe turned to Ambassador Zorax. The Nigean diplomat regarded them with a mix of awe and uncertainty. "I may have misjudged you," Zorax admitted, his voice low. "What you two have, it's unlike anything I've seen." Before they could respond, Dr. Vasquez stirred on the ground, groaning as she regained consciousness. The temporary link between her mind and theirs was fading, but it left behind a residue of understanding and a host of new questions. As they helped Vasquez to her feet, alarms blared with renewed urgency. General Stromwell's voice cut through the chaos. "Attention all personnel. Full quarantine protocols are now in effect. Remain in your designated safe zones for decontamination and assessment." Noah and Phoebe exchanged a glance, their bond thrumming with shared apprehension. They could sense the mixture of fear, curiosity, and barely held back excitement emanating from those around them. The air was thick with more than just the experimental gas. It was charged with the potential for monumental change. As they stood at the threshold of the quarantine zone, supporting the groggy Dr. Vasquez between them, Noah and Phoebe realized that their ordeal was far from finished. The true implications of their bond and the events that had just transpired were only beginning to unfold. Ambassador Zorax approached them, his expression grave. "I believe we have much to discuss," he said, gesturing towards the secure debriefing area. "All of us." With a shared nod of purpose, Noah and Phoebe stepped forward, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, together. Together, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As they stepped into the secure debriefing area, the full weight of the situation began to settle upon them. The once pristine research center had transformed into a hive of frantic activity. Medical staff rushed to attend to those affected by the gas, while security personnel maintained a tight perimeter around the facility. The air buzzed with a mixture of fear, excitement, and uncertainty. Noah and Phoebe found themselves at the center of it all, their unique bond drawing curious glances and hushed whispers from those around them. They sat side by side in the debriefing room, their hands intertwined, as General Stromwell and Senior Diplomat Vexara entered. "A report," Stromwell barked, his eyes scanning the room. Dr. Tassoni stepped forward, her normally composed demeanor showing signs of strain. "General, the situation is unprecedented. Our initial assessments show that approximately 30% of the humans and Nigeans present during the incident have developed temporary genetic alterations." Vexara's antennae twitched in alarm. "Temporary? Are you certain?" "As certain as we can be at this stage," Dr. Tanaka interjected, joining his colleague. "The changes manifest in various ways: enhanced strength, heightened senses, even limited telepathic abilities. They appear to mirror aspects of Noah and Phoebe's permanent bond, but on a smaller scale." Stromwell's eyes narrowed, a calculating look crossing his face. "And the military applications of these enhancements?" "General, I must object," Vexara said, her voice sharp. "We cannot view this as an opportunity for weaponization. The diplomatic ramifications alone." "With all due respect, diplomat," Stromwell cut in, "we need to consider all angles. If the Zorn get their hands on this technology..." Their argument faded into the background as Noah focused on Phoebe. Through their bond, he could sense her growing unease. "You okay?" he projected, giving her hand a gentle squeeze. Phoebe's bioluminescence flickered softly. "It's overwhelming," she responded silently. "All these minds, all this fear and excitement. It's like a storm in my head." Noah nodded, understanding all too well. The chaos of the evacuation had pushed their abilities to the limit, and now, in the aftermath, every emotion in the room seemed magnified. Their silent exchange was interrupted as Dr. Vasquez entered the room, still looking pale but determined. "We need to replicate it," she announced without preamble. All eyes turned to her. "Replicate what exactly?" Dr. Tassoni asked, her tone cautious. "The bond," Vasquez said, gesturing towards Noah and Phoebe. "Their permanent connection. If we can understand how it formed, control it, we could revolutionize interspecies relations." A tense silence fell over the room. Noah felt Phoebe's hand tighten in his, her mind projecting a mixture of fear and curiosity that mirrored his own. Absolutely not, Dr. Tanaka said firmly. The ethical implications alone. Ethics? Vasquez scoffed. We're on the brink of something monumental here. Think of the possibilities. As the debate intensified, Noah became aware of a growing commotion outside the debriefing room. Through the glass walls, he could see a group of people gathering, their faces a mix of confusion and persistence. A security officer burst into the room. Sir, he addressed Stromwell, we have a situation. Some of the affected individuals are organizing. They're demanding to speak with you. Stromwell's teeth clenched. On what grounds? They're calling themselves the Evolved One, sir. They want assurances that they won't be cured against their will. The tension in the room ratcheted up another notch. Noah and Phoebe exchanged a glance, their bond humming with shared apprehension. I'll handle this, Stromwell growled, moving towards the door. He paused, turning back to Noah and Phoebe. You two, with me. Your presence might help keep things calm. As they followed the general out into the corridor, Noah could feel the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. He and Phoebe were no longer just participants in this unprecedented event. They had become symbols, their very existence a lightning rod for the hopes and fears of those around them. The corridor outside was packed with people, their faces a mix of human and Nigel features. At the front stood a tall, broad-shouldered man with close-cropped hair and intense eyes. Noah recognized him as Marcus Reeves, one of the facility security officers. General Stromwell, Marcus called out, his voice carrying over the murmur of the crowd. We demand to be heard. Stromwell stepped forward, his posture rigid. I'm listening, Reeves, but choose your next words carefully. Marcus's gaze flickered to Noah and Phoebe, a look of recognition and something akin to reverence passing over his face. We've changed, he said, addressing not just Stromwell, but the entire gathered crowd. Whatever that gas did to us, it's opened our eyes. We're faster, stronger, more connected to each other than ever before. We won't let you take that away. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Noah could feel the tension building, the air thick with possibility and danger. Phoebe stepped forward, her skin pulsing with a soft, calming light. No one is going to force anything on you, she said, her voice gentle but firm. We're all in uncharted territory here. We need to work together to understand what's happened and what it means for all of us. Noah nodded, adding his voice to hers. This isn't about us versus them. We're all in this together, humans, nations, and everyone in between. Let's focus on finding answers, not drawing lines in the sand. Their words seemed to have an effect, the tension in the corridor noticeably easing. Marcus's stance relaxed slightly, though wariness remained in his eyes. Stromwell seized the moment. Reeves, gather a representative group. We'll meet in an hour to discuss your concerns and map out a plan moving forward. As the crowd began to disperse, Noah became aware of a familiar presence approaching. Ambassador Zorax made his way through the throng, his eyes fixed on Noah and Phoebe. A word, if I may, the ambassador said, his voice low. In private. Noah glanced at Phoebe, sensing her unease through their bond. Whatever Zorax had to say, it was clear this conversation would be a turning point in their already complicated relationship. As they followed the ambassador to a quieter corner of the facility, Noah couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the precipice of something much larger than themselves. The genetic resonance experiment had opened a Pandora's box, and now, for better or worse, they were at the center of a storm that threatened to reshape the very foundations of human-Nigel relations. The genetic resonance experiment had opened a Pandora's box, and now, for better or worse, they were at the center of a storm that threatened to reshape the very foundations of human-Nigean interaction. As they followed Ambassador Zorax to a secluded corner of the facility, Noah felt a sudden wave of apprehension wash over him. Through their bond, he sensed Phoebe's matching unease. The ambassador's antennae twitched nervously as he turned to face them. I must be frank, Zorax began, his voice low and urgent. The situation has escalated beyond our control. The Nigean High Council has learned of the genetic alterations affecting both our species. They're concerned, to put it mildly. Phoebe's bioluminescence flickered with alarm. "What does this mean for us, Father?" Zorax's gaze softened as he looked at his daughter. "They've ordered me to secure your return to Nigen space immediately. They fear your continued presence here could lead to further genetic contamination of our species." Noah felt a surge of protective instinct. "That's not going to happen," he said firmly, intertwining his fingers with Phoebe's. "We're in this together." Before Zorax could respond, an alarm blared through the facility. Dr. Tissoni's voice crackled over the intercom. "Noah, Phoebe, please report to Lab 3 immediately. We're ready to begin the first round of tests." Exchanging a glance, Noah and Phoebe hurried toward the lab, leaving a visibly conflicted Zorax behind. As they entered, they found Dr. Tissoni and Dr. Tanaka setting up an array of monitoring equipment. "We'll be starting with some non-invasive tests," Dr. Tanaka explained, gesturing for them to take seats in 2 reclining chairs. "We need to understand the extent of your genetic resonance." As the scientists attached electrodes and sensors to their bodies, Noah couldn't help but notice General Strommel observing from behind a glass partition. The general's eyes were fixed on them, a mixture of curiosity and calculation in his gaze. The test began innocuously enough. Simple cognitive exercises, physical coordination tasks, and sensory perception tests. But as the hours wore on, the intensity increased. Noah found himself in a simulated high-stress environment, his heart racing as he navigated a virtual obstacle course. Through it all, he could feel Phoebe's presence in his mind, steady and reassuring. Suddenly, something shifted. The bond between them surged, growing stronger than ever before. Noah gasped as his senses expanded, merging with Phoebe's. He could see through her eyes, feel the pulse of her bioluminescence, as if it were his own skin. "Incredible," Dr. Tissoni murmured, her eyes wide as she stared at the readouts. "Their brainwave synchronization is off the charts. It's as if they're—" Her words were cut off as the monitoring equipment began to spark and smoke. A visible energy field shimmered into existence around Noah and Phoebe, pulsing with an otherworldly light. "Shut it down," Dr. Tanaka shouted, frantically hitting switches and unplugging cables. "We're overloading the systems." As the machines powered down, the energy field dissipated. Noah slumped in his chair, feeling drained but exhilarated. He turned to Phoebe, seeing his own mix of awe and confusion mirrored in her eyes. What just happened?" he asked, his voice hoarse. Before anyone could answer, the lab door burst open. Marcus Reeves strode in, flanked by a group of other evolved individuals. Their eyes were bright with a mix of excitement and tenacity. "We felt it," Marcus declared, gesturing to Noah and Phoebe. "Whatever you just did, it resonated with all of us. We're growing stronger, more connected. You can't ignore us any longer." General Strommel stepped forward, his posture rigid. "Stand down, Reeves. This is a restricted area." Marcus didn't budge. "We have a right to know what's happening to us, to be part of the solution, not just lab rats for your experiments." As tensions rose, Noah felt a familiar presence tugging at the edge of his consciousness. Through their bond, Phoebe projected a sense of urgency. Without a word, they both stood, placing themselves between Marcus and the general. "Everyone, please," Phoebe said, her voice calm but firm. "We're all in uncharted territory here. Fighting amongst ourselves won't solve anything." Noah nodded, adding, "We need to work together. Marcus, you and the others have valuable insights into these changes. In general, we need the resources and expertise of the research team. There's room for cooperation here." The air in the lab crackled with tension as both sides considered Noah's words. Slowly, Marcus relaxed his stance, and Stromwell's hand moved away from his sidearm. "Fine," the general grunted. "We'll set up a joint task force. Representatives from the Evolved, the research team, and military oversight. But I want daily reports, and any sign of a security risk will be dealt with swiftly." As the group began to disperse, discussing the logistics of this new arrangement, Noah felt a wave of exhaustion wash over him. The day's events had taken their toll, both physically and mentally. Phoebe leaned close, her voice barely a whisper. "We should rest. There's more coming, I can feel it." Noah nodded, sensing the truth in her words. As they made their way out of the lab, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the edge of a precipice. The tests had revealed depths to their bond that they'd never imagined possible, and the implications were both thrilling and terrifying. Outside the lab, the facility buzzed with activity. Noah caught snippets of conversation about food shortages, rising tensions, and rumors of unrest beyond the quarantine zone. The weight of responsibility settled heavily on his shoulders. They were no longer just subjects of an experiment. They had become central figures in a rapidly evolving crisis. As they reached their quarters, a commotion from the far end of the corridor caught their attention. A group of security officers rushed past, their faces grim. "What's going on?" Noah called out to one of the stragglers. The officer paused, his expression tense. "Possible security breach in the outer perimeter. It's probably nothing, but stay alert." As the officer hurried away, Noah and Phoebe exchanged a worried glance. Through their bond, they shared a single unspoken thought. Whatever was coming, they would face it together. Together. Their shared tenacity hardened as they stepped into their quarters, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The moment of respite was short-lived. A deafening explosion rocked the facility, followed by the blaring of alarms. Noah and Phoebe rushed out of their room, their bond humming with shared urgency. "Intruder alert! All personnel to defensive positions," the facility's AI announced, its synthetic voice tinged with an edge of panic. Noah's military instincts kicked in. "We need to get to the command center," he said, already moving down the corridor. As they ran, their bond allowed them to communicate without words. Noah formulated a defensive strategy, which Phoebe instantly grasped and refined. They moved in perfect sync, their enhanced abilities allowing them to navigate the chaos with uncanny precision. Rounding a corner, they encountered a group of panicked scientists. "What's happening?" one asked, eyes wide with fear. "Nigean extremists," Phoebe explained, her skin pulsing with calming bioluminescence. "They've breached the outer defenses. We need to evacuate non-combat personnel." Noah nodded, quickly organizing the group. "Head to the emergency bunkers on sublevel 3. Stay together and avoid main corridors." As the scientists hurried away, Noah and Phoebe continued towards the command center. Through their heightened awareness, they sensed the approach of hostiles before they came into view. 3 intruders, armed with energy weapons, Noah whispered, pulling Phoebe into an alcove. They waited, breath held, as the extremists passed. Once clear, they moved swiftly to alert nearby Terran Defense Force personnel of the threat. Reaching the command center, they found General Stromwell coordinating the defense. "Report," he barked as they entered. "Sir, we've identified multiple breach points," Noah said, projecting a mental map of the facility that Phoebe quickly translated onto a nearby display. "The extremists are searching for something or someone." Stromwell's eyes narrowed. "They're after you two, or more specifically, the results of your genetic resonance." A nearby console beeped urgently. "Sir," a technician called out, "Dr. Tissoni and Dr. Tanaka are requesting immediate assistance in Lab 3. They're under attack." Noah and Phoebe exchanged a quick glance, their decision made in an instant. "We're on it," Noah said, already moving towards the exit. They sprinted through the facility, their enhanced physical abilities allowing them to cover ground at an astounding pace. As they approached the lab, the sounds of energy weapon discharge grew louder. Bursting through the doors, they found Dr. Tissoni and Dr. Tanaka huddled behind an overturned table, a group of Nigean extremists advancing on their position. Without hesitation, Noah and Phoebe sprang into action. Noah tackled the nearest attacker, using his momentum to disarm the extremist. Phoebe, meanwhile, used her agility to dodge energy blasts, drawing fire away from the scientists. As they fought, their bond allowed them to move as one, anticipating each other's actions with preternatural accuracy. Noah sensed an attacker behind him and ducked just as Phoebe launched a piece of lab equipment over his head, striking the extremist squarely in the chest. The battle intensified, with Noah and Phoebe pushed to their limits. Suddenly, an energy blast grazed Noah's arm, sending a searing pain through his body. Phoebe felt it as if it were her own injury, her protective instincts flaring. In that moment, something extraordinary happened. Phoebe's bioluminescence surged to an intensity they had never seen before. The lab was filled with a blinding light, temporarily incapacitating their attackers. Taking advantage of the distraction, Noah and Phoebe quickly subdued the remaining extremists. As the light faded, they stood amidst the chaos of the lab, breathing heavily but victorious. "Are you both all right?" Noah asked, turning to the shaken scientists. Dr. Tassoni nodded, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and fascination. "Yes, thanks to you. But we need to secure our research data immediately. If it falls into the wrong hands..." Before she could finish, the lab's emergency comm system crackled to life. "This is Ambassador Zorax," a strained voice announced. "I'm attempting to negotiate with the extremist leader, but they're not listening to reason. I fear we may be running out of options." Noah and Phoebe shared a worried look. The situation was escalating rapidly, and they knew they were at the center of it all. As they prepared to respond to this new development, the facility shook with another explosion, reminding them that the battle was just the beginning. Through their bond, they reaffirmed their commitment to each other and to protecting the fragile peace between their species. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Their unique connection, their greatest strength in the face of mounting adversity. The facility shook again, the tremors growing more violent with each passing second. Noah and Phoebe exchanged a grim look, their bond thrumming with shared urgency. "The power core," Phoebe said, her voice barely audible above the blaring alarms. "It's destabilizing." Without a word, they sprinted towards the heart of the facility. Their enhanced abilities allowed them to navigate the chaos with uncanny precision, dodging panicked personnel and debris alike. As they approached the power core chamber, the air crackled with energy. The door hissed open, revealing a scene of impending disaster. The massive core pulsed with an ominous, unstable light, its containment field flickering dangerously. Noah's military engineering training kicked in immediately. He scanned the room, taking in the damaged consoles and overloaded systems. Phoebe's eyes darted from panel to panel, her Nigean instincts interpreting the advanced technology with lightning speed. Their merged consciousness worked in perfect harmony, assessing the situation and formulating a plan in mere seconds. "The Zorn saboteurs," Noah growled, his hands flying over a control panel. "They've overloaded the containment field." Phoebe nodded, already moving to another station. "We need to reroute power and adjust the coolant flow. It's our only chance to prevent a catastrophic meltdown." They worked with breathtaking efficiency, their movements a synchronized dance of technical expertise. Noah's fingers danced across keyboards, while Phoebe manipulated holographic interfaces, their actions perfectly complementing each other. Suddenly, the chamber door burst open. A group of Nigean extremists poured in, energy weapons blazing. Noah and Phoebe ducked behind a console, the acrid smell of ozone filling the air as energy bolts sizzled past them. "We can't let them interrupt the stabilization process," Phoebe said, her skin pulsing with anxious bioluminescence. As if in answer to their predicament, Marcus Reeves and a team of evolved individuals charged into the room. They engaged the extremists, their enhanced abilities turning the tide of the battle. "Keep working," Marcus shouted over the din of combat. "We'll hold them off." Noah and Phoebe redoubled their efforts, fighting against time as the core's energy levels continued to spike. Sweat beaded on Noah's forehead as he manually overrode compromised systems, while Phoebe's bioluminescence flickered with the intensity of her concentration. A familiar voice cut through the chaos. "This is Ambassador Zorax," the Nigean diplomat announced, striding into the chamber with a contingent of loyal security personnel. "I stand with Noah and Phoebe. Lay down your weapons, extremists. Your actions threaten us all." The unexpected support shifted the balance of the fight, but Noah and Phoebe couldn't afford to lose focus. They had made significant progress in stabilizing the core, but a critical problem remained. "The main coolant system is beyond repair," Noah said, his voice tight with tension. "We need to activate the emergency cooling protocols manually." Phoebe's eyes widened as she realized the implications. "But that would require entering the radioactive chamber. It's suicide." Noah met her gaze, his persistence clear through their bond. "I'll do it." Before Phoebe could protest, Noah was already moving towards the sealed door of the radioactive chamber. She felt his perseverance, his willingness to sacrifice himself for the greater good. As Noah prepared to enter, Phoebe's bioluminescence flared with unprecedented intensity. A surge of energy flowed through their bond, enveloping Noah in a shimmering protective field. "Go," Phoebe whispered, channeling every ounce of her strength into maintaining the protective aura. Noah stepped into the chamber, the oppressive heat and radiation immediately assaulting his senses. Guided by Phoebe's telepathic presence, he navigated the hazardous environment, each step bringing him closer to the emergency coolant controls. Time seemed to stretch as Noah worked, his movements precise despite the grueling conditions. With a final Herculean effort, he activated the backup system. The core's angry pulsing began to subside, its energy levels dropping to manageable levels. Exhausted but triumphant, Noah staggered out of the radioactive chamber. Phoebe rushed to his side, supporting him as they moved away from the danger zone. Around them, the sounds of battle had faded. The remaining extremists, seeing their plan foiled, laid down their weapons. Marcus and his team were rounding up the Zorn saboteurs, their attempts to flee thwarted by the evolved individual's enhanced abilities. As medical teams swarmed into the area, Noah and Phoebe found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of activity. Dr. Tassoni and Dr. Tanaka arrived, their faces a mix of concern and excitement as they began assessing the aftermath of the incident. "The energy surge," Dr. Tanaka muttered, studying a handheld scanner. "It's had an unexpected effect on the genetic alterations within the quarantine zone." Noah and Phoebe barely registered the scientist's words, overwhelmed by the intensity of their strengthened bond. As they clung to each other, surrounded by the controlled chaos of the post-crisis response, they knew that their actions had not only averted disaster, but had also irrevocably changed the course of human-Negian relations. The immediate danger had passed, but the true implications of their heroic deed were only beginning to unfold. As medical personnel ushered them towards the infirmary for treatment and debriefing, Noah and Phoebe sensed that their greatest challenges still lay ahead. As medical personnel ushered them towards the infirmary for treatment and debriefing, Noah and Phoebe found themselves at the epicenter of a rapidly evolving situation. In the days that followed, the Interspecies Medical Research Center transformed into a hive of frenzied activity. The quarantine remained in effect, but the once sterile halls now buzzed with a mix of excitement, fear, and uncertainty. Noah winced as Dr. Tanaka carefully examined his arm, the skin still raw from the energy blast. Phoebe sat nearby, her bioluminescence pulsing softly in sync with Noah's heartbeat. "Fascinating," Dr. Tanaka muttered, eyes fixed on his scanner. "The energy surge from the core incident has accelerated the genetic changes in your bodies. And not just yours. We're seeing similar effects in other individuals within the quarantine zone." Dr. Tassoni approached, her face a mask of concern and scientific curiosity. "We need to run more comprehensive tests to understand the full extent of these changes. The implications could be significant." Before Noah or Phoebe could respond, the door slid open, revealing General Stromwell. His stern features were set in a grim expression as he surveyed the room. "Captain Noah," he barked, "I need a word." Noah exchanged a quick glance with Phoebe before following the general into the hallway. Through their bond, he felt her mixture of apprehension and support. "Sir?" Noah stood at attention, ignoring the lingering pain in his arm. Stromwell's eyes narrowed. "The situation has escalated beyond our initial projections. We're seeing enhanced abilities manifesting in previously unaffected individuals. I'm creating a specialized task force to evaluate and train these people, and I want you to lead it." Noah blinked, taken aback. "Sir, I'm not sure I'm the best." "You're uniquely qualified, Captain," Stromwell cut him off. "You understand both the military implications and the personal experience of these changes. I need someone I can trust in this position." Conflicting emotions warred within Noah. He sensed the gravity of the situation, but also the ethical minefield it presented. Through his bond with Phoebe, he felt a surge of concern tinged with pride. "I understand, sir," Noah finally replied. "I'll do my best." As Stromwell nodded and strode away, Noah leaned against the wall, his mind racing. The weight of his new responsibility settled on his shoulders like a physical burden. Inside the examination room, Phoebe approached Dr. Tisoni. "I want to help with the research," she said firmly. "I need to understand what's happening to us, to all of us." Dr. Tisoni's expression softened. "We'd be grateful for your assistance, Phoebe. Your unique perspective could be invaluable." As Noah re-entered the room, he found Phoebe already deep in discussion with the scientists, her skin flickering with patterns of light that seemed to reflect her rapid thoughts. He marveled at her ability to adapt, to face each new challenge with perseverance and grace. Their eyes met across the room, and Noah felt a surge of affection and respect through their bond. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. The next few weeks passed in a blur of activity. Noah threw himself into organizing and training the newly formed task force, working long hours to assess the abilities of those affected by the genetic changes. He pushed himself to the limit, driven by a sense of duty and the need to ensure the safety of everyone involved. Phoebe, meanwhile, underwent a battery of tests designed to map the extent of her abilities. Her capacity to generate and manipulate energy fields through her bioluminescent skin opened up new avenues of research, with potential applications that left even the seasoned scientists in awe. One evening, as they sat together in the small quarters they now shared, Noah felt the weight of their new reality settling over them. "How are you holding up?" he asked softly, reaching out to take Phoebe's hand. She smiled, her skin pulsing gently with warm light. "It's overwhelming, but I feel like we're on the cusp of something important, something that could change everything." Noah nodded, his thumb tracing circles on her palm. "I know what you mean, but I can't help worrying about the consequences. The way some people are reacting." He trailed off, thinking of the reports he'd seen of growing unrest outside the quarantine zone. Pro-integration rallies clashing with anti-alien protesters, politicians arguing over the implications of their research. Phoebe's grip tightened on his hand. "We'll find a way through this, Noah. Together." As if in response to her words, a commotion erupted in the hallway outside their quarters. Noah was on his feet in an instant, moving towards the door with Phoebe close behind. They stepped out to find Marcus Reeves and a group of other evolved individuals engaged in a heated discussion with a team of security personnel. "We have the right to organize," Marcus was saying, his voice tinged with frustration. "We're not lab rats or soldiers. We're people trying to understand our new reality." Noah stepped forward, placing himself between the two groups. "What's going on here?" Marcus turned to him, relief evident on his face. "Noah, we need your help. We're trying to establish a support system for the evolved, but we're being met with resistance at every turn." Noah felt the tension in the air, the competing interests and fears threatening to boil over. He knew he had to act quickly to defuse the situation. "Let's take this somewhere more private," he suggested, gesturing towards a nearby conference room. "We can discuss your concerns and find a way to address them within the current framework." As the group filed into the room, Noah caught sight of a familiar face approaching from down the hall. Ambassador Zorax, looking more haggard than Noah had ever seen him, hurried towards them. "Captain Noah, Phoebe," the ambassador said, his voice low and urgent. "I need to speak with you both. There have been developments." Noah exchanged a glance with Phoebe, sensing her curiosity and concern mirroring his own. Whatever the ambassador had to say, they knew it would only add to the complex web of challenges they were already facing. As they prepared to follow Zorax, leaving Marcus and the others to wait, Noah couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the precipice of something much larger than themselves. The quarantine zone, once a place of controlled scientific study, had become a crucible for the future of human-Nigen relations, and perhaps the future of both species races. Noah took a deep breath, steeling himself for the conversation ahead. He turned to Phoebe, their eyes meeting in silent understanding, before addressing the ambassador. "What's happened, Zorax?" Noah asked, his voice low and steady. The Nigen diplomat glanced around nervously before ushering them into a nearby empty office. Once inside, he activated a small device that emitted a soft hum, creating a privacy field around them. "We've uncovered evidence of illegal genetic experiments," Zorax said, his normally composed demeanor cracking slightly. "They're pushing the boundaries far beyond what's ethically acceptable, even by our most liberal standards." Noah felt a chill run down his spine. "Where are these experiments taking place?" "We've identified several locations, but our intelligence suggests a major facility on the outskirts of New Eden Colony," Jorax replied, pulling out a data chip. "This contains all the information we've gathered so far. It's highly sensitive. If it falls into the wrong hands, it could destabilize relations between our peoples." As Noah accepted the chip, he felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. He looked at Phoebe, sensing her mix of curiosity and apprehension through their bond. "I'm assembling a team to investigate," Noah said, his mind already racing through potential candidates. "We'll need to move quickly and quietly." Phoebe stepped forward, her bioluminescence pulsing with commitment. "I'm coming with you," she stated, her tone leaving no room for argument. Noah hesitated, concern flooding through him. The thought of putting Phoebe in danger made his stomach churn, but he couldn't deny the potential value of her abilities. Their bond had proven invaluable in crisis situations, and her insight into Nagian physiology could be crucial. After a moment of internal struggle, Noah nodded. "All right, but we do this carefully. We'll need a diverse team with complementary abilities." Over the next few days, Noah worked tirelessly to assemble and train his team. Along with Phoebe, he selected Marcus Reeves for his tactical experience and enhanced reflexes. Elena Cortez, a human with remarkable strength and durability, would serve as their frontline defense. Zara Kavul, a Nigian with advanced healing capabilities, joined as their medic. Rounding out the team was Talon Brix, whose heightened senses would be invaluable for reconnaissance. The training sessions were intense, pushing each team member to their limits. Noah and Phoebe's telepathic bond served as a model for team coordination, demonstrating the power of seamless communication in high-stress situations. As they prepared for departure, Dr. Tassoni presented them with specialized equipment. "These devices can detect and potentially neutralize unauthorized genetic manipulations," she explained, handing each team member a sleek, wrist-mounted scanner. "They're based on our research into your bond. Use them wisely." The team boarded a stealth shuttle, their nerves electric with anticipation. As they approached the coordinates of the suspected research outpost, Talon's enhanced senses kicked into overdrive. "I'm picking up unusual energy signatures," he reported, his eyes narrowed in concentration. "Definitely not standard research equipment." Noah nodded, his mind focused. "Elena, you're on point. Phoebe and I will coordinate our approach telepathically. Everyone else, stay alert and follow our lead." They touched down silently a short distance from the facility. As they approached on foot, the true scale of the operation became apparent. The outpost was heavily fortified, with armed guards patrolling the perimeter. Using their bond, Noah and Phoebe coordinated the team's movements with precision. They slipped past the outer defenses, Talon's sensory abilities allowing them to avoid detection. Once inside, the horrors of the facility revealed themselves. They encountered holding cells filled with human and Nigian test subjects, many writhing in agony as their bodies underwent grotesque mutations. Phoebe gasped, overwhelmed by the wave of pain and fear emanating from the subjects. Noah steadied her with a gentle touch, sending waves of calm through their bond. As they pushed deeper into the complex, they encountered resistance. Security forces armed with advanced weaponry poured into the corridors, forcing the team into action. Noah and Phoebe moved as one, their synchronized fighting style allowing them to anticipate and counter attacks with remarkable efficiency. Elena's enhanced durability made her an immovable bulwark, while Marcus's reflexes allowed him to disarm opponents with lightning speed. They fought their way to the central laboratory where they found Dr. Lyra Vasquez working feverishly alongside a team of scientists. The doctor's eyes widened in shock as she recognized Noah and Phoebe. "You don't understand," Vasquez pleaded, her voice tinged with desperation. "This work is vital for the future of both our species. We're creating something new, something better." Noah's grip tightened on his weapon. "At what cost, Doctor? Look around you. This isn't progress. It's torture." Phoebe stepped forward, her skin pulsing with nearly unleashed energy. She reached out with her empathic abilities, recoiling at the pain and suffering that permeated the facility. "Enough," she whispered, her voice carrying an otherworldly resonance. A burst of energy exploded from Phoebe, washing over the room in a blinding flash. When the light faded, Vasquez and her team lay unconscious on the floor. Noah stared at Phoebe in awe, realizing once again how much they had yet to learn about their evolving abilities. There was no time to dwell on it, however. They had a job to finish. As the team secured the facility and began gathering evidence, the true scope of the conspiracy began to unfold. The files they uncovered implicated high-ranking officials from both human and Nigean governments, painting a picture of a vast network dedicated to pushing the boundaries of genetic manipulation. Noah's mind raced as he considered the implications. They had succeeded in their immediate mission, but he knew this was only the beginning. The knowledge they now possessed could shake the foundations of interspecies relations. As they prepared to evacuate the test subjects to a secure medical facility, Noah found a moment alone with Phoebe. They didn't need words. Their bond conveyed everything they were feeling, the horror of what they'd witnessed, the weight of their discovery, and their unwavering commitment to each other and their cause. Their work was far from finished. The network behind these experiments was vast and powerful. But as Noah looked into Phoebe's eyes, he knew that together they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. The magnitude of their discovery took a toll on Noah and Phoebe as they made their way back to headquarters, their minds racing with the implications of what they had uncovered. Upon their return, they were immediately summoned to a high-level briefing with General Stromwell. The general's face was grim as he reviewed the team's initial report. "This is worse than we feared," Stromwell said, his voice low. "The network behind these experiments is more extensive and deeply rooted than we anticipated." Noah nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. "Sir, what's our next move?" General Stromwell's eyes met Noah's, a glimmer of perseverance shining through. "We need a more permanent solution to address the growing tensions between humans and Nigeans. I'm proposing the creation of a joint task force, and I want you to lead it, Captain." Noah's eyebrows shot up in surprise. "Me, sir?" "You're uniquely positioned for this role, Noah," Stromwell explained. "Your connection with Phoebe makes you the ideal bridge between our species. This task force, which we're calling Nexus, will be responsible for investigating and neutralizing threats to interspecies peace." Phoebe stepped forward, her skin pulsing with a mix of excitement and apprehension. "And what about me, General?" Stromwell turned to her, his expression softening slightly. "Despite some initial reservations from Nigean officials, I'm naming you as Noah's second-in-command. Your empathic abilities and scientific knowledge are invaluable assets to this team." As Noah and Phoebe began the process of assembling their team, they encountered resistance from both human and Nigean military hierarchies. Conservative factions viewed the task force as a potential threat to their authority and a step too far in interspecies cooperation. To counter this opposition, Noah and Phoebe embarked on a series of public appearances and demonstrations. At one such event, they stood before a mixed crowd of human and Nigean dignitaries, their hands clasped together in a symbol of unity. Noah addressed the crowd, his voice carrying across the plaza. "What we've achieved together is just the beginning. The Nexus Task Force represents a new era of cooperation between our species, one that will ensure a safer future for all of us." As Phoebe opened her mouth to speak, a sudden sense of danger flooded through their bond. Without hesitation, Noah pulled Phoebe to the ground as a high-powered energy blast seared the air where they had been standing. Chaos erupted in the plaza as security forces scrambled to locate the shooter. Noah and Phoebe, protected by their enhanced reflexes and telepathic link, helped evacuate the dignitaries while scanning for threats. In the aftermath of the assassination attempt, security around Noah and Phoebe was tightened. General Stromwell assigned Major Sarah Hawkins, a seasoned veteran with a reputation for unwavering loyalty, to lead their protection detail. Major Hawkins eyed Noah and Phoebe skeptically during their first meeting. "With all due respect, sir, ma'am, I'm not convinced your bond is enough to keep you safe in the field." Noah met her gaze steadily. Then we'll just have to prove its value to you, Major. As the Nexus task force took shape, Noah and Phoebe began training their new recruits. The team included a mix of enhanced individuals from the quarantine zone and specially selected operatives from both human and Nigerian military forces. During one particularly intense training session, Noah watched as Lieutenant Kara Zhen, a brilliant Nigerian tactician, effortlessly coordinated a complex maneuver between human and Nigerian team members. "Impressive work, Lieutenant," Noah said as the exercise concluded. Kara nodded, her expression serious. "Thank you, sir, but I fear our real challenges are just beginning." Noah's comm unit buzzed, interrupting their conversation. General Stromwell's voice came through, tense and urgent. "Captain, we have a situation. There's been a series of mysterious disappearances along the border between human and Nigerian territories. Both species are being targeted. I need Nexus on this immediately." Noah exchanged a glance with Phoebe, feeling her drive mirroring his own. "Understood, sir. We're on our way." As the Nexus team prepared for their first official mission, Noah addressed his assembled operatives. "This is what we've been training for. Whatever we find out there, remember that we're stronger together. Human and Nigerian, enhanced and unmodified. We're all part of the same team now." The team boarded their transport, a sleek vessel equipped with the latest stealth technology. As they approached the border region, Lieutenant Zhen's voice cut through the low hum of conversation. "Sir, I'm picking up unusual energy signatures in Sector 7. They don't match any known human or Nigerian technology." Noah leaned over her console, studying the readouts. "Good catch, Lieutenant. Phoebe, what do you sense?" Phoebe closed her eyes, reaching out with her empathic abilities. Her face contorted in concentration, then her eyes snapped open. "Fear, Noah, so much fear. And something else, a sense of purpose, almost fanatical in its intensity." Noah's face hardened as he processed this information. "All right, team, we're going in hot. Whatever's causing these disappearances, it's clear we're dealing with something beyond our usual scope. Stay alert, watch each other's backs, and remember your training." As the transport touched down in a clearing near the last known location of a missing person, Noah felt a chill run down his spine. Something about this mission felt different, more significant than anything they'd faced before. Phoebe squeezed his hand, sending a wave of reassurance through their bond. Noah nodded, drawing strength from her presence. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. The team disembarked, weapons at the ready, their senses on high alert. As they moved deeper into the dense forest, the strange energy signatures grew stronger, leading them toward an unknown threat that would test the limits of their newfound unity. As they ventured deeper into the forest, the air grew thick with tension, and an eerie silence settled over the team. Suddenly, Phoebe gasped, her eyes widening. "Noah, I'm sensing something different. It's not just fear anymore. There's a strange sense of purpose, almost fanatical." Before Noah could respond, a blinding flash illuminated the forest, and the team found themselves surrounded by a shimmering energy field. As their vision cleared, they realized they were no longer in the dense woodland, but in a sterile white room. A familiar voice cut through their confusion. "Captain Noah, Phoebe, we apologize for the abrupt extraction, but time is of the essence." Noah blinked, recognizing Ambassador Zorax standing before them. The Nigerian diplomat's usually composed features were etched with concern. "Ambassador, what's going on?" Noah demanded, his hand instinctively reaching for Phoebe's. "We need you both immediately," Zorax explained, gesturing for them to follow. "The situation has escalated beyond our worst fears." As they hurried through the corridors of what appeared to be an underground facility, Zorax briefed them on the dire circumstances. The disappearances they had been investigating were just the tip of the iceberg. A secret coalition of moderate leaders from both human and Nigerian governments had uncovered a far-reaching conspiracy threatening the fragile peace between their species. They entered a large chamber where several high-ranking officials from both races were gathered around a holographic display. Among them stood Admiral Helena Vance, her determined eyes fixed on the newcomers. "Captain Phoebe," the Admiral nodded curtly, "we're glad you're here, We have a proposition that could change the course of human-Nigen relations forever. Over the next hour, Noah and Phoebe listened intently as the coalition laid out their audacious plan. They proposed establishing a new colony on a recently discovered habitable planet, where humans and Nigeans could coexist and continue researching genetic integration under controlled conditions. "We want you two to lead this initiative," Admiral Vance stated, her eyes locked on Noah and Phoebe. "Your unique bond makes you the ideal candidates to forge a new path for our species." Noah's mind raced, overwhelmed by the implications. He turned to Phoebe, their bond thrumming with a mix of excitement and apprehension. Before they could discuss the proposal, alarms blared throughout the facility. "We're under attack," a security officer shouted, his voice barely audible over the cacophony. Chaos erupted as the bunker's occupants scrambled to defensive positions. Noah and Phoebe sprang into action, their training kicking in automatically. Through their telepathic link, they coordinated their movements flawlessly, guiding the officials to a secure area while assessing the threat. "This way," Noah shouted, leading a group down a narrow corridor. Phoebe brought up the rear, her skin pulsing with bioluminescent energy, ready to unleash her powers if needed. The sound of weapons fire echoed through the facility as they encountered the first wave of attackers. Noah and Phoebe moved in perfect sync, their enhanced abilities allowing them to anticipate and counter each assault. "They're not just humans or Nigens," Phoebe called out, her empathic senses on overdrive. "I'm picking up both." Noah nodded grimly, realizing they faced a joint operation by extremist factions from both societies, united in their opposition to further integration. As they fought their way through the bunker, Noah noticed Admiral Vance fighting alongside them with remarkable skill. The Admiral's presence bolstered their drive as they pushed back against the relentless assault. Suddenly, Noah spotted an attacker taking aim at Ambassador Zorax. Without hesitation, he threw himself in front of the Nigean diplomat, feeling a searing pain as the energy blast grazed his side. Phoebe felt Noah's pain through their bond, and something within her snapped. Her skin flared with an intensity she had never experienced before, emitting a blinding light that temporarily incapacitated their attackers. As Noah struggled to his feet, he felt a surge of strength flowing through him. He realized with a start that Phoebe was somehow sharing her physical energy with him through their bond. "Noah, are you feeling this?" Phoebe's voice echoed in his mind, filled with wonder and confusion. "I am," he responded silently, marveling at this new development in their connection. With renewed vigor, they pressed forward, fighting as a single, highly efficient unit. Their newfound ability to share strength and skills turned the tide of the battle, allowing them to push back the attackers and secure the facility. As the immediate danger passed, Admiral Vance approached them, her expression a mix of admiration and urgency. "We need to evacuate now. Follow me." She led them to a hidden hangar wherein sleek spacecraft waited, its engines humming with latent power. "This is the Star Weaver," Vance explained as they boarded. "It's our ticket out of here and to the new colony world." As the ship prepared for launch, Noah and Phoebe exchanged a meaningful look. In that moment, they both knew what they had to do. "We'll lead the mission," Noah announced, his voice firm with drive. Ambassador Zorax stepped forward, his eyes meeting Phoebe's. "Daughter, are you certain?" Phoebe nodded, her hand intertwined with Noah's. "We are, Father. This is our chance to make a real difference." As the Starweaver lifted off under heavy fire from the remaining attackers, Noah and Phoebe stood on the bridge, watching their home world shrink in the viewport. The vastness of space stretched before them, filled with both promise and peril. Their journey was just beginning, but as Noah felt the reassuring presence of Phoebe through their bond, he knew they were ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, they would forge a new future for humans and Nigens among the stars. Stars. Their journey was just beginning, but as Noah felt the reassuring presence of Phoebe through their bond, he knew they were ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, they would forge a new future for humans and Nigians among the vast expanse of space. As the Starweaver settled into its long journey toward the newly discovered habitable planet, Noah and Phoebe found themselves thrust into leadership roles they had never anticipated. The spacecraft, a marvel of joint human-Nigean engineering, housed a diverse crew of 500 individuals, 250 humans and 250 Nigeans. Noah stood on the bridge, surveying the expansive viewport that showcased the star-studded darkness of space. He felt Phoebe's presence before she entered the room, their bond humming with shared purpose and willpower. "How are our passengers settling in?" Noah asked as Phoebe joined him. "It's been challenging," Phoebe admitted, her bioluminescent skin pulsing softly with concern. "Cultural differences are causing some friction. We have our work cut out for us." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Dr. Ilera Nvek, the Nigerian xenobiologist assigned to monitor their evolving bond. Her tall, willowy frame and iridescent eyes marked her as one of the more striking examples of Nigerian physiology aboard the ship. "Captain, Phoebe," Dr. Nvek greeted them with a slight bow. "I was hoping to schedule another round of tests. The data from your bond continues to fascinate me." Noah nodded. "Of course, Doctor. We'll make time for it. But first we need to address the growing tensions among the crew." Over the next few weeks, Noah and Phoebe worked tirelessly to mediate conflicts and promote understanding between the human and Nigerian crew members. Their unique bond proved invaluable, allowing them to sense the emotional undercurrents that often lay beneath surface disagreements. During one particularly heated argument in the mess hall over dietary preferences, Noah felt a surge of frustration and anger through his connection with Phoebe. He quickly made his way to the scene, finding Phoebe already there, her skin glowing with a calming blue light. "Everyone, please." Phoebe's voice carried a soothing resonance that seemed to reach beyond just the ears of those present. "We're all part of the same mission here. Our differences are what make us stronger together." Noah watched in amazement as the tension in the room visibly dissipated. He could feel Phoebe projecting a sense of unity and shared purpose, something that had never been possible before. Their bond was growing stronger, more nuanced. As they left the mess hall, Noah pulled Phoebe aside. "That was incredible. How did you do that?" Phoebe looked equally surprised. "I'm not entirely sure. It just happened. Our bond is changing, Noah. I can feel it." Before they could discuss it further, an alert sounded throughout the ship. They rushed to the bridge, where Admiral Helena Vance was already coordinating with the navigation team. "Captain, we've entered an uncharted region of space," Vance reported, her voice tense. "Long-range sensors are picking up a massive debris field ahead. It appears to be artificial." Noah leaned over the sensor displays, his mind racing with possibilities. "Alien technology?" Vance nodded grimly. "It seems so, and it's directly in our path." Noah turned to Phoebe, their eyes meeting in silent communication. This could be their first major test as leaders of this expedition. "All right," Noah addressed the bridge crew. "We're going to organize salvage teams. This could be an opportunity to gain valuable insights into advanced technology. But stay alert. We don't know what we're dealing with." Over the next few days, Noah led several spacewalks into the debris field. The eerie silence of space was broken only by the sound of his own breathing and the occasional comm chatter from his team. Fragments of what must have once been colossal structures floated past them, their alien designs both beautiful and unsettling. Back on the ship, Phoebe coordinated the salvage efforts, using her enhanced senses to guide the teams towards the most promising artifacts. Her ability to detect potential threats had saved them from more than one close call with unstable energy sources hidden within the debris. On the third day of their salvage operation, Noah's team made a significant discovery. Nestled within the twisted remains of what appeared to be an ancient space station, they found a device unlike anything they had ever seen. Its surface was covered in intricate swirling patterns that seemed to shift and change as they watched. "This is it," Noah breathed, his voice filled with a mix of excitement and apprehension. "This is what we've been looking for. Bring it in, carefully." As they maneuvered the device back to the Starweaver, Noah couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the verge of something momentous. Little did he know that this discovery would change not only the course of their mission, but the very nature of his and Phoebe's existence. The moment the device was brought aboard the Starweaver, everything changed. A pulse of energy unlike anything they had ever encountered surged through the ship, temporarily disrupting all systems. Noah felt a blinding pain in his head, his bond with Phoebe flaring with an intensity that overwhelmed his senses. The last thing he saw before losing consciousness was Phoebe collapsing on the other side of the airlock, her skin blazing with a light brighter than he had ever seen. When Noah finally regained consciousness, he found himself in the medical bay. Dr. Envek's concerned face looming over him, but more than that, he felt different. The bond with Phoebe no longer felt like a separate connection. It was as if their very beings had merged on some fundamental level. "Phoebe," he gasped, sitting up despite Dr. Envek's protests. "Where is she? Is she all right?" "I'm here, Noah," Phoebe's voice came from the adjacent bed. As their eyes met, Noah was struck by the depth of understanding that passed between them. Something had changed irrevocably. Dr. Envek's voice cut through their silent communion. "Your bond, it's undergone a significant transformation. Your DNA has further intertwined in ways I've never seen before. We're still trying to understand the full implications, but it seems your physical abilities and telepathic connection have been greatly enhanced." As Noah and Phoebe absorbed this information, alarms began blaring throughout the ship once again. Admiral Vance's voice came over the intercom, urgency evident in her tone. "All senior staff to the bridge immediately. We've detected an anomaly directly in our path. Some kind of massive energy barrier spanning several light years. We need to formulate a plan, and fast." Noah and Phoebe exchanged a look, their new bond thrumming with shared purpose and perseverance. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, their union now deeper and more powerful than ever before. As they made their way to the bridge, both knew that the true test of their leadership and their newfound abilities was just beginning. As they approached the bridge, Noah and Phoebe felt a surge of shared persistence coursing through their newly strengthened bond. The bridge doors slid open, revealing a scene of controlled chaos. Admiral Vance stood at the center, her eyes fixed on the main view screen, which displayed a shimmering, translucent wall of energy stretching as far as the eye could see. "Report," Noah said, stepping forward with Phoebe at his side. Admiral Vance turned to face them, her expression grave. "It's like nothing we've ever encountered. The barrier spans several light years in every direction. Our scans can't penetrate it, and our engines aren't powerful enough to go around." Noah and Phoebe exchanged a glance, their enhanced connection allowing them to share thoughts without words. They both knew what needed to be done. "The alien device," Phoebe said, her skin pulsing with a soft blue light. "It might be our only chance to understand and overcome this barrier." Noah nodded in agreement. "We need to interface with it, combine its knowledge with our ship's systems." Dr. Envek, who had followed them to the bridge, stepped forward with concern etched on her face. "The risk to your minds would be significant. We don't fully understand the changes your bond has already undergone." "We don't have a choice," Noah responded, his voice firm. "Every moment we spend here puts the mission at greater risk." Admiral Vance considered for a moment before giving a curt nod. "Do it, but we'll be monitoring you closely." Within minutes, Noah and Phoebe were in the ship's neural interface chamber, a room filled with advanced biotechnology designed to link organic minds with the Starweaver's systems. The alien device sat on a pedestal in the center, its swirling patterns seeming to move with greater intensity. As the medical team attached neural sensors to their temples, Noah reached out and took Phoebe's hand. Through their touch, he could feel her apprehension mixing with his own, but also their shared dedication. "Ready?" he asked when squeezing her hand. Phoebe nodded, her skin glowing with a mix of blue and gold. Together, they lay back on the interface couches and Dr. Envek initiated the connection sequence. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a surge of information flooded their minds, threatening to overwhelm their senses. Noah felt as if he was being pulled apart and reassembled, his consciousness expanding to fill the ship's systems. He could feel the thrum of the engines, the whisper of life support, the pulse of the shields. Beside him, Phoebe's mind intertwined with his, their thoughts merging until it was hard to tell where one ended and the other began. Through this new expanded awareness, they reached out to the alien device. Its complexity was staggering, layers upon layers of information encoded in ways they could barely comprehend. But as they delved deeper, patterns began to emerge. The barrier, Phoebe's voice echoed in their shared mindspace. It's not just an obstacle. It's a test. Noah understood immediately. The barrier had been created by an ancient race, the Progenitors, who had seeded life throughout the galaxy. It was meant to prevent unprepared species from venturing further into the cosmos. As they processed this revelation, alarms blared throughout the ship. The alien device responding to their probe had begun emitting powerful energy pulses. Shields at 60% and dropping, came a distant voice, barely audible through their merged consciousness. Noah and Phoebe redoubled their efforts, searching for a way to deactivate the barrier. They found themselves navigating a complex network of fail-safes and protocols, each more challenging than the last. Time seemed to lose all meaning as they worked, their minds moving at speeds impossible for their physical bodies. They were vaguely aware of voices around them, of hands touching them, but it all seemed distant and unimportant compared to the task at hand. Just as they thought they had found the key to lowering the barrier, a new presence intruded on their shared consciousness. Commander Reeves and a group of extremists had fought their way into the neural interface chamber, intent on disconnecting Noah and Phoebe. "We can't let them do this," Reeves shouted, his voice breaking through their mental link. "They'll doom us all." Noah and Phoebe could feel hands grasping at the neural interfaces, threatening to sever their connection. In that moment of crisis, they made a decision. Instead of trying to bring down the entire barrier, they focused all their energy on creating a small gateway, just large enough for the Starweaver to pass through. The strain was immense. Noah felt as if his mind was being stretched to its breaking point, and he could sense Phoebe's pain mirroring his own. But they pushed on, their merged consciousness working with a single-minded focus. Around them, they were dimly aware of a battle raging. Security officers led by Major Hawkins had arrived to subdue Reeves and his followers. The clash of weapons and shouts of combat seemed to come from very far away. As Noah and Phoebe neared completion of the gateway, Dr. Envek's voice cut through their concentration. "Their neural patterns are destabilizing. If we don't disconnect them soon, the fusion could become permanent." Admiral Vance's response was lost in a haze of pain and effort as Noah and Phoebe made one final push. The barrier before them shimmered, parted, and a gateway opened, revealing the star-studded darkness of uncharted space beyond. With their task complete, Noah and Phoebe began the agonizing process of disconnecting from the ship's systems and the alien device. As their individual consciousnesses reasserted themselves, the pain became almost unbearable. The last thing Noah saw before darkness claimed him was Phoebe's face, her skin pulsing with a weak, erratic light. Then everything went black. In the aftermath, the Starweaver hung motionless at the edge of the newly created gateway. In the medical bay, Noah and Phoebe lay unconscious, their vital signs weak and erratic. Dr. Envek and her team worked frantically to stabilize them, the outcome far from certain. On the bridge, Admiral Vance stood before the viewscreen, gazing at the shimmering portal that led to unknown regions of space. The crew, still shaken by the recent events, awaited her orders. The next phase of their journey lay before them, filled with both promise and peril. As the Starweaver prepared to venture into uncharted territory, the fate of the mission, the future of human-Nigen relations, and the lives of Noah and Phoebe hung in the balance. The true test of their journey was only just beginning. The silence in the medical bay was broken only by the steady beep of monitoring equipment and the hushed whispers of the medical team. Dr. Alara Envek's eyes darted between the unconscious forms of Noah and Phoebe and the complex readouts on her holoscreen. The last few hours had been a frenzy of activity as she and her team worked tirelessly to stabilize the pair's condition. "Their neural patterns are unlike anything I've ever seen," Dr. Envek murmured to her human colleague, Dr. Marcus Bennett. "It's as if their minds have become entangled on a quantum level." Dr. Bennett nodded, his brow furrowed in concentration as he adjusted the settings on a nearby bioregenerator. The alien device must have catalyzed some sort of fundamental change in their bond. "We're in uncharted territory here, Hilara." As if in response to their hushed conversation, Noah's fingers twitched. Dr. Envek was at his side in an instant, her sensitive Nigean hearing picking up the slight change in his breathing. "Noah, can you hear me?" she asked, her voice calm but urgent. Noah's eyes fluttered open, unfocused at first. He blinked several times, his gaze darting around the room before settling on Dr. Envek. "Phoebe," he whispered, his voice hoarse. "Where's Phoebe?" "She's right here, Noah," Dr. Envek assured him, gesturing to the adjacent bed where Phoebe lay. "She's stable, just like you. How do you feel?" Noah's brow furrowed as he seemed to search for the right words. "I feel different, like I'm not just me anymore." At that moment, Phoebe stirred, her skin pulsing with a soft, steady glow. Her eyes opened, immediately finding Noah's. No words were exchanged, but an understanding passed between them, as clear as if they had spoken aloud. Dr. Envek watched in fascination as Noah and Phoebe sat up in perfect synchronization, their movements mirroring each other with uncanny precision. "Fascinating," she breathed, making a note on her datapad. "Your neural synchronization appears to have reached an unprecedented level." Before either Noah or Phoebe could respond, the ship's intercom crackled to life. Admiral Vance's voice filled the medical bay. "Attention all crew. We have successfully traversed the gateway and are approaching a habitable planet within a nearby star system. Preliminary scans indicate possible progenitor structures on the surface. All senior staff report to the bridge immediately." Noah and Phoebe exchanged a glance, their enhanced connection allowing them to communicate without words. They swung their legs off their beds in unison, but Dr. Envek stepped forward, her hands raised. "Wait," she said firmly. "We need to run more tests. We don't fully understand the changes you've undergone." Noah spoke, his voice overlapping with Phoebe's in perfect harmony. "There's no time, Doctor. We need to be on the bridge." Reluctantly, Dr. Envek nodded, knowing that their unique abilities might be crucial in the face of this new discovery. "Very well, but I'm coming with you. We'll continue monitoring your condition." As they made their way to the bridge, Noah and Phoebe became aware of a subtle, pulsing sensation at the edge of their consciousness. It grew stronger as they entered the command center, their enhanced senses immediately drawn to the main view screen. The planet loomed before them, a swirling marble of blue and green. But it was more than just a visual image to Noah and Phoebe. They could feel the world reaching out to them, waves of information washing over their merged consciousness. "Admiral," Phoebe said, her skin shimmering with excitement, "the planet is trying to communicate with us." Admiral Vance turned, her eyebrows raised in surprise. "Communicate? Our sensors haven't detected any transmissions?" Noah nodded, his eyes never leaving the view screen. "It's not a conventional signal. We can feel it. There's intelligence down there, and it knows we're here." The bridge crew exchanged uneasy glances, but Admiral Vance's expression remained resolute. "If there's a chance for first contact, we need to seize it. Assemble a landing party. Noah, Phoebe, given your unique abilities, I want you on that team." Within the hour, a shuttle descended through the planet's atmosphere, carrying Noah, Phoebe, Dr. Envek, Major Sarah Hawkins, and a small security detail. As they approached the coordinates of the signal's origin, a massive structure came into view, its surface a mesmerizing blend of organic curves and crystalline geometries. Noah and Phoebe, standing at the front of the shuttle, gasped in unison. The structure seemed to pulse in response to their presence, patterns of light rippling across its surface. "It's beautiful," Phoebe whispered, her hand intertwining with Noah's. As the shuttle touched down, Noah and Phoebe led the way, their steps sure and purposeful. They approached what appeared to be a seamless wall of the structure, but as they neared, an opening shimmered into existence. "Wait," Major Hawkins called out, her hand on her weapon. "We should scan for—" But Noah and Phoebe had already stepped through the opening. As they crossed the threshold, a field of shimmering energy sprang up behind them, cutting them off from the rest of the landing party. "Noah, Phoebe," Dr. Envek called out, her hand pressing against the energy field. It was solid, unyielding. Inside, Noah and Phoebe found themselves in a vast chamber, its walls lined with pulsating crystals and holographic displays. As they moved deeper into the room, the displays came to life, filling the air with swirling patterns of light and color. Instinctively, Noah and Phoebe reached out, their minds melding with the alien technology. Information flooded their consciousness, the history of the progenitors, their grand vision for the galaxy, and the purpose of this very planet. Outside, Dr. Envek's instruments beeped urgently. Their genetic structure is changing, she reported, her voice tight with concern. It's as if their DNA is being rewritten in real time. Inside the chamber, Noah and Phoebe were oblivious to the passage of time, lost in the vast sea of knowledge being imparted to them. They saw the rise and fall of the progenitor civilization, understood their hopes for their descendants, and grasped the true purpose of the energy barrier they had just passed through. As the flow of information began to ebb, Noah and Phoebe became aware of subtle changes in their bodies. They felt stronger, more attuned to each other and to the world around them. The chamber seemed to pulse in sync with their heartbeats. Suddenly, the energy field dissipated, allowing the rest of the landing party to rush in. Dr. Envek immediately began scanning Noah and Phoebe with her medical tricorder, her eyes widening at the readings. Your genetic structures have merged further, she said, her voice a mix of awe and concern. You've incorporated aspects of the progenitor genome. I've never seen anything like this. Before Noah or Phoebe could respond, Major Hawkins' communicator crackled to life. Major, we're detecting multiple ships entering the atmosphere. They're not ours, and they're heading this way. Noah and Phoebe turned as one, their enhanced senses reaching out to these new arrivals. They could feel the curious caution emanating from the approaching vessels. They're not hostile, Noah said, his voice calm. Phoebe nodded in agreement. But they're not exactly friendly either. They're searching, just like we are. As the landing party prepared to face this new development, Noah and Phoebe stood at the center of the ancient chamber, their hands clasped tightly together. Whatever challenges these new arrivals might bring, they would face them united, their bonds stronger than ever. The future of human-Nigen relations, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance as the unknown ships drew ever closer to the planet's surface. The tension on the bridge was palpable as the unknown vessels drew closer. Noah and Phoebe stepped forward, their enhanced senses reaching out to the approaching ships. The rest of the landing party watched in awe as the pair's eyes seemed to glow with an otherworldly light. They're not hostile, Noah said, his voice calm and steady. Phoebe nodded in agreement. But they're cautious. They've been here for a long time, watching and waiting. As the ships touched down nearby, Noah and Phoebe led the way, their movements perfectly synchronized. The rest of the landing party followed, weapons at the ready but not raised. A hatch opened on the nearest vessel, and a figure emerged. He was tall and lean, with features that blended human and Nigean characteristics in a harmonious way. His skin had a faint luminescence, and his eyes held a depth of wisdom that belied his youthful appearance. Welcome, he said, his voice rich and resonant. I am Zorn. We've been expecting you. Noah and Phoebe exchanged a glance, their enhanced connection allowing them to communicate without words. They stepped forward as one. We are Noah and Phoebe, they said in unison. How did you know we were coming? Zorn smiled, gesturing to the ancient structure behind them. The progenitors left us more than just ruins. They left us knowledge, purpose, and the ability to sense when our long-lost siblings would return. As more figures emerged from the ships, the landing party gasped. Each one was a unique blend of human and Nigean traits, a living testament to the potential for integration between the two species. Zorn extended his hand in a gesture of welcome. Please come with us. There's much to show you. As they followed Zorn and his people, Noah and Phoebe's enhanced senses allowed them to perceive the intricate balance of human and Nigean DNA within the hybrid population. It was as if they could see the very strands of genetic code intertwining, creating something entirely new yet familiar. The group approached what appeared to be a sheer cliff face, but as they drew near, the rock seemed to shimmer and dissolve, revealing a hidden entrance. They stepped through into a vast cavern that took their breath away. Before them lay a city that defied imagination, soaring structures of crystal and metal intertwined with organic, living architecture. Streams of energy flowed through transparent conduits, powering advanced technology that seamlessly blended with natural elements. "Welcome to Harmony," Zorn said, his voice filled with pride. "Our home for generations, and a living example of what humanity and Nigens can achieve together." As they toured the city, Noah and Phoebe found themselves drawn to every new sight and sensation. Their enhanced abilities allowed them to understand the complex systems at work, from the advanced hydroponics that supplied food to the quantum computers that managed the city's functions. Dr. Envek, her scientific curiosity piqued, engaged with some of the hybrid scientists. "Your level of technological integration is astounding," she remarked, examining a nearby console. "How did you achieve this?" One of the hybrid scientists, a woman with iridescent skin and eyes that shifted color like a kaleidoscope, smiled. "It's not just about technology, Dr. Envek. It's about understanding the fundamental connection between all living things. The progenitors showed us the way, and we've spent generations refining their teachings." As they delved deeper into the city, Noah and Phoebe's shared consciousness buzzed with new information and insights. They could feel the weight of history here, the countless generations that had worked towards this harmony. Suddenly, a communication from the Starweaver cut through their reverie. Admiral Vance's voice was tense as she addressed the landing party. "We've received an urgent transmission from Earth," she said. "The situation between humans and Nigens has deteriorated rapidly. Both governments are demanding our immediate return. They fear our mission's success could upset the balance of power." The news hit the group like a physical blow. The wondrous discoveries they had made here suddenly seemed fragile in the face of the conflict brewing light years away. Noah and Phoebe exchanged a look, their enhanced bond allowing them to reach a decision in an instant. They turned to Zorn, their eyes blazing with persistence. "We need to share what we've learned," Noah began. "The knowledge of the progenitors, the proof of our shared heritage," Phoebe continued. "It's the only way to prevent a war," they finished in unison. Zorn nodded gravely. "We've long debated whether to reveal ourselves to the wider galaxy. Perhaps now is the time, but be warned, such knowledge comes with great responsibility and risk." As the group began to formulate a plan to transmit the Progenitor repository's information back to Earth and the Nigean homeworld, alarms suddenly blared throughout the city. Zorn's expression turned grim as he consulted a holographic display that sprang to life before him. "Multiple wormhole signatures detected," he announced, his voice tight. "A fleet is emerging, and they're not friendly. It's the Zorn Empire." Noah and Phoebe's enhanced senses immediately expanded, reaching out to the approaching threat. They could feel the cold grit of the Zorn, their hunger for the advanced technology and their desire to eliminate potential rivals. As the first explosions rocked the planet's surface, Noah and Phoebe knew that the true test of their newfound abilities was about to begin. The fate of not just this hidden world, but of human-Nigean relations throughout the galaxy, now hung in the balance. Balance. The ground shook as another explosion rocked the planet's surface, and Noah and Phoebe exchanged a determined glance. They knew what had to be done. "We need to protect Harmony," Noah said, his voice steady despite the chaos erupting around them. Phoebe nodded, her mind already reaching out to assess the incoming threat. "The Zorn ships are powerful, but they're not invincible. We can use our enhanced abilities to coordinate a defense." Zorn stepped forward, his expression grim but resolute. "Our city has defenses, but they've never been tested against a force like this. We'll need your help to repel the invasion." Admiral Vance's voice crackled over the communicator. "Landing party, what's your status? We're detecting multiple hostile ships entering the atmosphere." "We're under attack by the Zorn Empire," Major Hawkins responded, her voice tense but controlled. "The locals have defensive capabilities, but we'll need support from the Starweaver." "Understood," Vance replied. "We're moving into position now. Stand by for orbital support." As the Starweaver maneuvered to assist, Noah and Phoebe tapped into Harmony's defense grid. Their enhanced minds interfaced seamlessly with the alien technology, allowing them to direct energy shields and weapon systems with unprecedented precision. The sky above Harmony lit up with the exchange of weapons fire. Zorn ships, sleek and predatory, dove through the atmosphere, their energy weapons carving swaths of destruction across the landscape. But the city's defenses, guided by Noah and Phoebe's heightened awareness, met them with a coordinated barrage of energy beams and interceptor drones. Dr. Nevek worked feverishly with the hybrid scientists, analyzing data from the battle in real time. Their ships have some kind of adaptive shielding, she reported, but there's a pattern to the adaptations. If we can predict it, we can exploit it, Noah finished, his mind already processing the information and feeding it into the defense grid. The battle raged for hours, a deadly dance of advanced technology and tactical prowess. The Starweaver's powerful weapons rained down from orbit, providing crucial support to the beleaguered defenders. Slowly but surely, the tide began to turn. As the last Zorn ship retreated into the upper atmosphere, a cheer went up from the defenders of Harmony. But Noah and Phoebe knew the fight was just the beginning. "They'll be back," Phoebe said, her enhanced senses still tracking the retreating vessels. "And they'll have learned from this encounter." Zorn nodded gravely. "We've lived in isolation for so long, but that's no longer an option. The galaxy now knows of our existence, and we must be prepared to face whatever comes next." Admiral Vance's voice came through the communicator once more. "Landing party, prepare for immediate extraction. We need to report back to Earth and the Nigerian homeworld about these developments." As the group made their way back to the shuttle, Noah and Phoebe found themselves at the center of attention. The hybrid population of Harmony looked to them with a mixture of awe and hope, seeing in them a bridge between their isolated world and the wider galaxy. "We can't just leave them?" Noah said, his voice low as he spoke to Phoebe. She squeezed his hand in agreement. "We won't, but we need to handle this carefully. The knowledge we've gained here could change everything." As the shuttle lifted off, carrying the landing party and a small delegation from Harmony, including Zorn, Noah and Phoebe's enhanced senses allowed them to perceive the complex web of emotions emanating from the planet below. Hope, fear, excitement, and uncertainty mingled in a tapestry of feeling that stretched out behind them as they ascended towards the Starweaver. Once aboard the ship, Admiral Vance wasted no time in organizing a secure transmission to both Earth and the Nigian homeworld. The mood on the bridge was tense as they prepared to share their groundbreaking discoveries. "We need to be careful about how we present this information," Dr. Envek cautioned. "The implications of human-Nigian integration could be seen as threatening to some factions." Noah nodded, his enhanced mind already formulating strategies for presenting their findings. "We'll start with the historical context, the evidence of our shared progenitor heritage. Then we can move on to the potential benefits of controlled integration." As the transmission began, Noah and Phoebe stood side by side, ready to present their case to the combined governments of Earth and Nigeria. But just as Admiral Vance was about to initiate the broadcast, Noah's enhanced senses detected an anomaly in the ship's systems. His eyes widened as he realized what was happening. "Wait!" he called out, his voice urgent. "There's something wrong with the communication systems." Phoebe, attuned to Noah's thoughts, immediately understood. "It's some kind of hidden subroutine," she explained, her fingers flying over a nearby console. "It's trying to corrupt the data we're sending." The bridge erupted into action as Noah interfaced directly with the ship's computers, his enhanced abilities allowing him to navigate the complex systems at lightning speed. Phoebe, meanwhile, used her heightened senses to identify and isolate the malicious code. "It's Commander Reeves," Noah said grimly, recognizing the signature of the detained officer's work. "He must have planted this before he was caught." As they raced to neutralize the threat, Dr. Envek approached with new findings. "I've been analyzing your transformed physiology," she said, her voice a mix of excitement and concern. "There are genetic markers that could potentially be used to safely enhance human-Nigian compatibility in others. But the process is incredibly complex, and we don't fully understand the long-term implications." Admiral Vance, taking in the flurry of activity and new information, made a quick decision. "We need to proceed with the transmission," she said firmly. "Noah, Phoebe, can you ensure the integrity of our broadcast?" The pair nodded in unison, their enhanced abilities working in perfect harmony to purge the system of Reeves's sabotage attempt. As the last traces of the malicious code were eliminated, they gave the Admiral a thumbs up. "Transmission commencing," the communications officer announced. As the faces of Earth and Nigean leaders appeared on the display, Noah and Phoebe stepped forward, ready to present the evidence that could forever change the course of human-Nigean relations. The fate of two species hung in the balance as they began to speak, their words carrying the weight of a shared destiny that stretched back millennia. "Leaders of Earth and Nigeria," Noah began, his voice steady and clear. "We come to you today with a discovery that will reshape our understanding of our place in the galaxy." Galaxy. Noah paused, allowing the weight of his words to sink in. Phoebe stepped forward, her eyes meeting those of the leaders on the screen. "What we've discovered on Harmony is just the beginning," she continued. "The progenitors left us a legacy that could unite our species and propel us into a new era of exploration and understanding." As Noah and Phoebe presented their findings, the Star Weaver began its journey back to Earth. The transmission concluded with a tense silence, the faces of the Earth and Nigean leaders etched with a mixture of awe and apprehension. Days passed as the ship made its way through space, the crew working tirelessly to prepare for their arrival. Noah and Phoebe spent countless hours refining their control over their enhanced abilities, pushing the boundaries of what they could achieve. As Earth came into view, Admiral Vance called the senior staff to the bridge. "We're picking up multiple ship signatures," she announced, her voice tight. "It appears we're being met by a coalition fleet." The view screen flickered to life, revealing a formidable array of Earth and Nigean vessels forming a blockade. Tension filled the air as the crew realized the precarious nature of their situation. Noah and Phoebe exchanged a glance, their enhanced senses picking up on the fear and uncertainty radiating from the ships ahead. Without a word, they knew what had to be done. "Admiral," Noah said, stepping forward, "we have a plan." Minutes later, Noah and Phoebe stood in the shuttle bay, a modified Progenitor device held between them. Dr. Enzyme made some final adjustments, her fingers moving with practiced precision. "This should amplify your empathic ability," she explained. "But be careful. We don't fully understand the long-term effects of this level of output." Noah nodded, his eyes meeting Phoebe's. "We're ready." As the Star Weaver approached the Coalition fleet, Noah and Phoebe activated the device. A wave of energy pulsed outward, invisible to the naked eye, but potent in its effect. The sensors on the bridge lit up, tracking the signal as it washed over the opposing ships. "Weapon signatures are decreasing," reported the tactical officer, surprise evident in his voice. "They're powering down their targeting systems." Admiral Vance wasted no time. "Open a channel to the Coalition flagship." The face of Admiral Jackson Thorne appeared on the screen, his expression a mixture of confusion and curiosity. "This is Admiral Thorne of the Earth Defense Force. Star Weaver, explain your actions." "Admiral Thorne," Vance replied, her voice steady, "we come in peace, bearing knowledge that could change the course of human and Nigean history. We request a face-to-face meeting to present our findings." There was a pause filled with the crackle of subspace static. Finally, Thorne nodded. "Agreed. Send a shuttle to our coordinates. But be warned, any hostile action will be met with immediate force." As Noah and Phoebe boarded the shuttle alongside Dr. Enzyme, they could feel the weight of responsibility settling on their shoulders. The fate of two species hung in the balance, and they were the linchpin holding it all together. The shuttle glided smoothly towards the Coalition flagship, a massive vessel overflowing with weaponry. Noah's enhanced senses picked up on the heightened security measures, the tension radiating from the crew as they approached. As they docked, a squad of heavily armed guards met them, their weapons held at the ready. Noah and Phoebe stepped forward, their hands raised in a gesture of peace. "We're here to meet with Admiral Thorne," Noah said, his voice calm and steady. The guards exchanged glances, then nodded curtly. "Follow us." As they were led through the ship's corridors, Noah and Phoebe's enhanced senses took in every detail. They could feel the underlying currents of fear and curiosity from the crew they passed, the conflicting emotions swirling around them like a storm. Finally, they arrived at a heavily fortified conference room. The doors slid open, revealing Admiral Thorne and a tall, imposing Nigean, who could only be High Commander Krelvor of the isolationist movement. "Welcome aboard," Thorn said, his voice neutral. "I believe you have something to show us." Noah stepped forward, his eyes meeting those of the two leaders. "What we're about to share will change everything you thought you knew about our place in the galaxy." As Noah began to speak, laying out the evidence of their shared progenitor heritage, Phoebe's enhanced senses suddenly picked up on something amiss. A flicker of movement in the corner of her eye, a surge of malevolent intent. Before she could react, alarms blared throughout the ship. The conference room door burst open, revealing a group of armed extremists led by a familiar face, Commander Marcus Reeves. "This ends now," Reeves snarled, his eyes wild with fanaticism. "We won't allow our species to be corrupted by alien influence." In that moment, as chaos erupted around them, Noah and Phoebe knew that the true test of their abilities was about to begin. The fate of human-Nigean relations hung in the balance, and they were the only ones who could tip the scales. Scales. Noah and Phoebe stood side by side, their enhanced senses on high alert as they faced down Commander Reeves and his extremist followers. In that moment of chaos, something unexpected happened. Noah felt a sudden surge of energy coursing through his body, and beside him, Phoebe gasped. A faint bluish glow began to emanate from their skin, visible even through their uniforms. "What's happening?" Admiral Thorn demanded, his eyes wide with shock. Dr. Envek, who had been observing from the sidelines, stepped forward. "It's their enhanced physiology," she explained quickly. "The stress of the situation must have triggered a new phase of their transformation." Commander Reeves and his followers hesitated, caught off guard by the strange phenomenon. Noah seized the opportunity, reaching out with his mind to connect with Phoebe. Together, they focused their enhanced abilities, projecting a wave of calming energy throughout the room. The effect was immediate. The extremists lowered their weapons, confusion replacing the anger in their eyes. Even Admiral Thorn and High Commander Krelvor seemed to relax slightly. "Stand down," Thorn ordered, his voice firm but no longer hostile. "We need to get to the bottom of this." As security personnel moved to detain Reeves and his followers, Dr. Envek approached Noah and Phoebe. "We need to get you back to the Starweaver immediately," she said, her voice low and urgent. "Your bodies are undergoing further changes. We need to stabilize you before it's safe for you to interact with others." Admiral Thorn nodded his agreement. "Go. We'll continue our discussions once we've ensured your condition is under control." As Noah and Phoebe were escorted back to their shuttle, they could feel the eyes of everyone in the room following them. The faint glow emanating from their bodies had not diminished, and they could sense the mixture of fear and fascination radiating from those around them. Once aboard the Starweaver, Dr. Envek led them directly to the medical bay. The room was a flurry of activity as the medical team prepared for a battery of tests. "Your cellular structure is continuing to evolve," Dr. Envek explained as she examined the readouts on her medical scanner. "It seems the progenitor DNA is becoming more dominant in your systems." Noah felt a twinge of concern. "Is it dangerous?" Dr. Envek shook her head. "Not necessarily, but it is putting a significant strain on your bodies. We need to find a way to stabilize your condition before you can safely interact with the general population." Over the next few hours, Noah and Phoebe underwent a series of tests and examinations. Their bodies continued to change, their muscle density increasing, and their reflexes sharpening to an almost superhuman degree. The bioluminescent glow persisted, pulsing gently in sync with their heartbeats. As Dr. Envek and her team worked tirelessly to develop a treatment, Noah and Phoebe could sense the growing tension beyond the walls of the medical bay. Their enhanced hearing picked up fragments of conversations throughout the ship, discussions of the political fallout from their condition and the implications for the integration program. Admiral Vance entered the medical bay, her face a mask of concern. "How are they doing, Doctor?" Dr. Envek looked up from her work. "We're making progress. We've developed a specialized chamber that emits controlled pulses of progenitor energy. It should help stabilize their cellular structure." Noah and Phoebe exchanged a glance. They could sense the Admiral's unease, the weight of responsibility she carried. "There's more, isn't there?" Phoebe asked softly. Admiral Vance nodded. "News of your condition has reached Earth. There are mixed reactions. Some see it as a sign of hope, others as a threat. The United Earth government is convening an emergency session to discuss the implications. Noah felt a surge of determination. We need to be there. We need to show them that this integration can work. I agree, Admiral Vance said. But first, we need to get you stabilized and find a way to manage your new appearance. The last thing we need is to cause a panic. As Noah and Phoebe prepared to enter the specialized chamber, Dr. Envek approached with a set of sleek, form-fitting garments. These should help conceal your physical changes, she explained. They're designed to suppress your bioluminescence and mask the subtle differences in your physiology. Noah slipped on the garment, feeling it conform perfectly to his body. As he did, the visible glow from his skin dimmed to near invisibility. It's time, Dr. Envek said, gesturing to the chamber. Noah and Phoebe stepped inside, their hands intertwined. As the chamber hummed to life, surrounding them with a shimmering field of energy, they could feel their bodies responding, adapting to their new hybrid state. Outside the chamber, Admiral Vance received a transmission. Her eyes widened as she listened to the report. "Doctor," she called out, her voice tight with urgency, "we've just received word. The Zorn Empire has sent a diplomatic envoy to Earth. They're requesting to participate in the discussions about progenitor heritage and integration." As the energy field pulsed around them, Noah and Phoebe realized that their transformation was just the beginning. The future of human-Nigian relations, and perhaps the entire galaxy, was about to be reshaped, and they would be at the center of it all. As the energy field surrounding Noah and Phoebe dissipated, they stepped out of the chamber, their bodies humming with newfound stability. The specialized garments clung to their forms, concealing the subtle changes that had reshaped their physiology. Admiral Vance approached them, her expression a mixture of concern and drive. "We need to move quickly," she said, her voice low. "Earth is expecting you, and we can't afford any delays." Within hours, Noah and Phoebe found themselves aboard a sleek shuttle, descending through Earth's atmosphere. As they broke through the cloud cover, the sprawling cityscape of New Geneva came into view, its gleaming towers a testament to humanity's resilience and progress. The shuttle touched down on a heavily guarded landing pad, surrounded by a sea of flashing lights and armed personnel. Noah took a deep breath, his enhanced senses picking up on the tension radiating from the security detail. "Ready?" he asked on turning to Phoebe. She nodded, her eyes reflecting a mix of apprehension and purpose. "Let's do this." As they stepped onto Earth's surface, they were immediately enveloped by a tight formation of security officers. The air buzzed with the low hum of energy shields and the crackle of communication devices. "This way, please," a stern-faced officer instructed, guiding them towards a waiting transport vehicle. The journey to the secure facility was a blur of high-speed travel through cordoned-off streets. Noah and Phoebe sat in silence, their hands intertwined as they processed the gravity of their situation. Upon arrival, they were ushered into a stark white room filled with an array of advanced medical equipment. A team of scientists and government officials waited, their eyes wide with barely concealed curiosity. "Welcome back to Earth," a tall, silver-haired woman in a lab coat greeted them. "I'm Dr. Samantha Chen, head of the Integration Research Division. We have a lot to discuss." Over the next several hours, Noah and Phoebe underwent a battery of tests. They submitted to blood draws, full-body scans, and rigorous physical examinations. Despite their specialized clothing, the subtle changes in their physiology did not go unnoticed. "Remarkable," Dr. Chen murmured, studying a holographic display of their cellular structure. "The integration of progenitor DNA is far more extensive than we anticipated." As the examinations concluded, Noah and Phoebe were led to a conference room where a panel of high-ranking officials awaited them. The atmosphere was tense, filled with unspoken questions and barely concealed anxiety. "We'd like you to demonstrate some of your enhanced abilities," one of the officials requested, his voice tinged with a mixture of fear and fascination. Noah nodded, stepping forward. With fluid grace, he lifted a solid metal table with one hand, holding it aloft as if it weighed no more than a feather. Gasps filled the room. Phoebe, meanwhile, closed her eyes in concentration. A moment later, she recited word for word a classified document that had been shown to her for mere seconds earlier in the day. The officials exchanged glances. their expressions a mix of awe and concern. "This is unprecedented," another official spoke up. "The potential applications are extraordinary, but the implications for society..." As discussions continued late into the night, Noah and Phoebe could sense the conflicting emotions swirling around them. Some officials spoke excitedly about the possibilities of integration, while others voiced concerns about maintaining the essence of humanity. Outside the facility, the world was changing. News of their return had leaked, and social media was ablaze with speculation and debate. Protests erupted in major cities, some peaceful, others turning violent, as extremist groups seized the opportunity to spread fear. In New Geneva, construction crews worked tirelessly to prepare the massive convention center for the upcoming summit. The facility was a hive of activity, with workers installing advanced security systems and modifying spaces to accommodate delegates from multiple species. As dawn broke, Noah and Phoebe were briefed on the escalating situation. Reports of attempted sabotage and growing unrest poured in from around the globe. "We need to address this directly," Phoebe said, her enhanced mind quickly formulating a plan. "Let the public see us, understand us." Noah nodded in agreement. "A demonstration. Show them what integration truly means." The proposal was met with hesitation from some officials, but ultimately approved. Within hours, arrangements were made for a public event at a heavily secured stadium. As they prepared for their first public appearance, Noah and Phoebe could feel the weight of expectation pressing down on them. The fate of human-Nigen relations, and perhaps the future of both species, rested on their shoulders. The stadium's seats filled quickly, a sea of faces, both human and Nigean, all eyes fixed on the central platform. Security was tight, with armed guards positioned at every entrance and exit. Noah and Phoebe stepped into view, their specialized clothing gleaming under the bright lights. A hush fell over the crowd. "People of Earth and Nigeria," Noah began, his voice carrying clearly across the stadium. "We stand before you as living proof of what our species can achieve together." With that, they began their demonstration. Noah lifted impossibly heavy weights with ease, while Phoebe solved complex mathematical equations faster than any computer. They moved with inhuman speed and agility, their bodies blurring as they performed feats that defied belief. The crowd watched in stunned silence, which slowly gave way to murmurs of amazement and finally applause. As the demonstration concluded, Noah and Phoebe could sense a shift in the emotional tenor of the audience. Fear and suspicion were being replaced by curiosity and hope. As they left the stadium, reports began flooding in from around the world. Social media was exploding with discussions and debates about the future of both species. The tide of public opinion was beginning to turn. Back at the secure facility, Noah and Phoebe received news that delegates from the Nigean homeworld had arrived on Earth. Among them was a familiar face, Ambassador Zorax, Phoebe's father. The reunion was emotional, with Zorax embracing his daughter tightly. "I'm so proud of you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You're changing the course of history." As preparations for the summit entered their final stages, another arrival sent ripples through the diplomatic community. The Zorn Empire's envoy, led by senior official Krasnok, touched down in New Geneva. Noah and Phoebe exchanged a glance, sensing the surge of tension that accompanied the Zorn's arrival. They knew that bridging the gap between all these diverse species would be their greatest challenge yet. With the summit mere days away, Dr. Envek approached them with startling news. "We've made a breakthrough," she said, her eyes wide with excitement. "A small percentage of humans and Nagians are experiencing genetic changes similar to yours. The integration process, it's happening naturally, albeit slowly." The revelation added a new level of urgency to the upcoming discussions. As Noah and Phoebe absorbed this information, they realized that the summit would be even more crucial than they had initially believed. On the eve of the historic gathering, they underwent one final medical examination. The results left them stunned. Their projected lifespans had increased significantly, surpassing both human and Nigen norms. As they processed this information, an urgent alert came through. Intelligence reports indicated that a coalition of extremist groups was planning to attack the summit during the opening ceremony. Noah and Phoebe locked eyes, a silent understanding passing between them. They had come too far to let everything fall apart now. With renewed drive, they joined Admiral Vance and the security team to formulate a plan. As the first light of dawn broke over New Geneva, Noah and Phoebe stood at the ready, prepared to face whatever challenges the day might bring. The fate of human-Nigen relations hung in the balance, and they were determined to see it through. As the first light of dawn broke over New Geneva, Noah and Phoebe stood at the ready, prepared to face whatever challenges the day might bring. The fate of human-Nigen relations hung in the balance, and they were determined to see it through. The convention center bustled with activity as delegates from Earth, Nigeria, and beyond filed into the grand auditorium. Noah and Phoebe, their specialized clothing gleaming under the bright lights, took their positions backstage. Despite their outward calm, their enhanced senses picked up on the nervous energy permeating the air. "It's time," Admiral Vance said, approaching them with a nod. "Remember, we have agents in place. Stay alert, but focus on your presentation." As they stepped onto the stage, a hush fell over the assembled crowd. Billions across multiple worlds watched via holographic feeds as Noah and Phoebe faced the audience. "Distinguished delegates, citizens of Earth and Nigeria," Noah began, his voice steady and clear. "We stand before you as living proof of what our species can achieve together." Without further preamble, they launched into their demonstration. Noah effortlessly lifted a massive steel beam, twirling it like a baton. Phoebe, meanwhile, solved a series of complex equations projected onto a screen behind her, her mind working faster than any computer. As they moved through their carefully choreographed routine, gasps and murmurs rippled through the audience. Even with their specialized clothing, the subtle changes in their physiology were apparent to the keen-eyed observers. While Noah and Phoebe captivated the crowd, Admiral Vance coordinated with her security team via a subvocal communication device. "Team Alpha, status report," she whispered. "3 suspects identified and neutralized, Admiral," came the response. "Proceeding to secondary targets." The opening ceremony progressed smoothly, with Noah and Phoebe fielding questions from awestruck delegates. However, as they moved to the final phase of their presentation, a commotion erupted near the back of the auditorium. "For purity," a voice shouted, followed by the distinctive whine of energy weapons powering up. Chaos erupted as delegates scrambled for cover. Noah and Phoebe exchanged a quick glance before springing into action. With inhuman speed, they vaulted off the stage and raced towards the source of the disturbance. Noah reached the first attacker in seconds, disarming him with a precise strike. Phoebe, her enhanced reflexes allowing her to dodge energy blasts, tackled another assailant to the ground. As security forces converged on the scene, Noah found himself face-to-face with a particularly aggressive extremist. The man swung a vibroblade, its edge humming with deadly energy. Noah dodged, but not quite fast enough. The blade sliced through his sleeve, leaving a deep gash on his arm. Gasps echoed through the auditorium as Noah's wound, initially severe, began to close before their eyes. Within moments, only a faint pink line remained where the gash had been. With the immediate threat neutralized, Noah and Phoebe returned to the stage. The audience stared in stunned silence, their eyes fixed on Noah's rapidly healing arm. Dr. Alara Navek rushed forward, her medical team in tow. "We need to examine you immediately," she said, her voice tight with excitement and concern. As Dr. Navek collected samples and data from Noah's healing wound, Admiral Vance took the podium. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain calm. The situation is under control." In the aftermath of the attack, the summit organizers called for an emergency session. Noah and Phoebe, still reeling from the events, found themselves at the center of intense scrutiny. "What we've witnessed today is unprecedented," one delegate announced, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and awe. "The implications of such rapid healing alone." As discussions intensified, reports began flooding in from around the globe. Dr. Nvek, her eyes wide with excitement, approached Noah and Phoebe. "It's happening," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "We're receiving reports of spontaneous genetic changes in individuals across Earth and Nigeria. The integration process, It's accelerating. Noah and Phoebe exchanged a glance, the weight of this revelation settling on their shoulders. They knew that the events unfolding around them would reshape the future of both their species. As the summit entered its second day, Noah and Phoebe found themselves appointed to lead a special committee on managing the transition for those experiencing genetic changes. They worked tirelessly, developing protocols and strategies to support individuals undergoing spontaneous integration. Outside the convention center, the world watched and waited. Supporters of integration organized rallies, their voices rising in hope and solidarity. Opposition groups, however, continued to voice their concerns, their fears fueled by the unknown. Amidst the swirling tensions, an unexpected olive branch emerged. Krasnok, the Zorn Empire's envoy, approached Noah and Phoebe with an offer that would change the course of the summit. In the spirit of cooperation, Krasnok said, his scaled features set in a solemn expression, the Zorn Empire is prepared to share our advanced defensive technologies. This unexpected gesture sent ripples through the assembly. Noah and Phoebe, recognizing the potential for a breakthrough, began working closely with Krasnok to facilitate the technology transfer. As they delved into the intricacies of Zorn defensive systems, Noah and Phoebe couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the precipice of something monumental. The integration of humans and Nigians was just the beginning. The future that stretched before them promised to reshape the very fabric of galactic society. With each passing hour, the scope of their mission grew. What had begun as a personal journey of transformation had evolved into a movement that would touch the lives of billions across multiple worlds. Noah and Phoebe, once ordinary individuals, now found themselves at the heart of a cosmic shift, guiding their species towards an uncertain but promising future. As the summit entered its third day, Noah and Phoebe found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of activity. The proposal they had worked tirelessly to develop, a network of integration centers, was gaining significant traction among the delegates. The United Earth Government and the Nigian High Council have reached an agreement, announced Ambassador Zorax, his eyes gleaming with pride as he looked at his daughter. We will establish the first pilot integration support and research facility right here in New Geneva. Noah and Phoebe exchanged a glance, realizing the enormity of what they had set in motion. Without hesitation, they stepped forward. We volunteer to oversee the ISRF's development and initial operations, Noah said, his voice firm and resolute. Dr. Alara Navek, who had been standing nearby, nodded approvingly. Excellent. Your first-hand experience will be invaluable. Let's get to work immediately. Within hours, construction teams descended upon an existing medical complex, their tools humming as they began retrofitting the building. Noah and Phoebe worked alongside Dr. Nvek and a diverse team of human and Nigian scientists, their days blurring into nights as they designed specialized equipment and protocols. As news of the ISRF spread, individuals experiencing integration symptoms began to arrive in New Geneva. The facility, still under construction, quickly became a hub of frenetic activity. We need more beds in the East Wing, Phoebe called out, her enhanced mind rapidly calculating space requirements, and double the capacity of the genetic sequencing lab. Noah, meanwhile, found himself providing counseling to a group of newly arrived patients. I know it's overwhelming, he said, his voice gentle as he addressed their worried faces. But remember, you're not alone in this. We're here to support you every step of the way. As they worked to establish the ISRF, Noah and Phoebe were pulled into a high-security briefing with Admiral Vance. The Admiral's face was grim as she shared the latest intelligence. We've uncovered a hidden Purist base in the Sahara Desert, she said, gesturing to a holographic map. We're planning a covert operation to neutralize the threat. Noah leaned forward, studying the map intently. The Purists we encountered at the summit seemed to have a fear-based motivation. If we could somehow demonstrate the benefits of integration during the raid, Phoebe nodded, catching on to his train of thought. Perhaps we could incorporate some non-lethal applications of our enhanced abilities? It might sow doubt among their ranks. Admiral Vance considered their suggestions, her expression thoughtful. Interesting approach. We'll factor that into our planning. As they left the briefing, Noah and Phoebe were confronted with a new crisis at the ISRF. Dr. Nevek rushed towards them, her usual composure shaken. "We have a group of patients experiencing accelerated genetic changes," she reported breathlessly. "Their transformation rate is approaching what you two initially experienced." They hurried to the intensive care unit, where a dozen patients lay on beds, their bodies shimmering with almost unchecked energy. Noah and Phoebe moved from bed to bed, offering words of comfort and guidance. "Focus on your breathing," Phoebe instructed a young woman whose skin was rippling with iridescent patterns. "Try to visualize the changes as a positive force." As they worked to stabilize the patients, news of the accelerated transformations leaked to the press. Within hours, the ISRF was surrounded by a sea of reporters and curious onlookers. "We need to address this," Noah said, watching the growing crowd from a window. "The public needs reassurance." They agreed to a series of interviews, fielding questions from major news outlets with candor and patience. Noah described the physical sensations of transformation, while Phoebe explained the cognitive enhancements in layman's terms. As public interest in integration reached a fever pitch, an unexpected announcement from the Zorn Empire sent shockwaves through the galactic community. Krasnok, the Zorn envoy, requested an urgent meeting with Noah and Phoebe. "We've discovered cases of genetic changes among our own people," Krasnok revealed, his scaled features set in an expression of wonder and concern. "It seems the integration process may extend beyond humans and Nigens." This revelation opened up new avenues of research and collaboration. Noah and Phoebe worked with Dr. Envek to prepare the ISRF for the arrival of Zorn scientists and affected individuals. As they expanded the scope of their work, Noah and Phoebe were once again summoned by Admiral Vance. The raid on the Purist base was imminent, and their unique abilities were needed. "We're asking you to join the operation in an advisory capacity," the Admiral explained. "Your insights could be crucial to its success." Noah and Phoebe exchanged a look, silently weighing the risks and potential benefits. After a moment, they nodded in agreement. "We're in," Noah said firmly. As they boarded the stealth transport alongside Admiral Vance and a joint human-Nigen special operations team, Noah felt Phoebe's hand slip into his. The hum of the engines filled the air as the transport lifted off, carrying them towards an uncertain confrontation in the heart of the Sahara. The vast expanse of desert stretched out below them, a sea of golden sand under the setting sun. As the transport approached the coordinates of the hidden Purist base, Noah and Phoebe prepared themselves for what lay ahead. The success of this mission could shape the future of integration efforts across the galaxy. Planet. As the transport descended towards the Sahara, Noah and Phoebe received their final briefing. Admiral Vance's voice crackled through their comms, outlining the mission parameters. "Our primary objective is to neutralize the Purist threat and gather intelligence," she explained. "Noah, Phoebe, your enhanced abilities will be crucial. Use them, but remember, non-lethal takedowns only." The transport touched down silently, its advanced cloaking technology rendering it invisible to the Purist detection systems. Noah and Phoebe exited first, their heightened senses immediately scanning the surroundings. "Two guard patrols 500 meters north and east," Noah whispered, his enhanced vision piercing the darkness. Phoebe nodded, her mind rapidly processing the information. "I'm detecting faint electrical signals underground. The base entrance must be hidden beneath the sand." They relayed this intelligence to the team, who quickly formulated an entry plan. Noah and Phoebe led a small infiltration squad towards a narrow maintenance tunnel they had identified. As they approached, Noah placed his hand on the scorching sand, feeling the vibrations beneath. "There's a security system in place. Give me a moment." His fingers danced across the sand, tracing invisible patterns. Within seconds, the hidden panel beeped softly, granting them access. The team slipped into the tunnel, the cool air a stark contrast to the desert heat. Phoebe took point, her enhanced reflexes allowing her to navigate the dark passageway with ease. They emerged into a dimly lit corridor. Distant voices echoed, growing louder as they approached. "Two guards coming this way," Phoebe whispered. Noah nodded, a plan already forming. As the guards rounded the corner, he and Phoebe struck with lightning speed. In a blur of motion, they disarmed and incapacitated the purists before they could raise the alarm. With the immediate threat neutralized, Noah accessed a nearby terminal. His fingers flew across the keyboard, bypassing security protocols with ease. "I'm in," he announced, "uploading the base schematics to the team now." As the main force breached the compound's perimeter, Noah and Phoebe pushed deeper into the facility. They moved like shadows, neutralizing purist operatives with precise, non-lethal takedowns. Alarms blared, filling the corridors with flashing red light. The couple exchanged a glance, their enhanced minds already formulating a new strategy. "We need to find their command center," Phoebe said. Noah nodded, his eyes scanning the schematics. "This way." They raced through the twisting corridors, their enhanced speed allowing them to outpace their pursuers. As they rounded a corner, they stumbled upon a heavily guarded doorway. Without hesitation, Noah and Phoebe sprang into action. They moved in perfect synchronization, their enhanced strength and agility allowing them to overcome the guards in seconds. Phoebe quickly bypassed the security lock, and the doors slid open to reveal a state-of-the-art laboratory. Inside, they found a horrifying sight. Dozens of individuals strapped to medical beds, subjected to invasive procedures. "They're trying to reverse the integration process," Noah realized, his voice tight with anger. Phoebe was already moving, her fingers flying over the lab's control panel. "I'm shutting down their experiments and unlocking the restraints." As the captives began to stir, Noah and Phoebe worked quickly to stabilize them and gather crucial data on the purist research. Suddenly, Admiral Vance's voice crackled over their comms. "We've secured the command center, but the purists have activated a self-destruct sequence. We need that deactivated now." Noah and Phoebe exchanged a determined look. "We're on it," Noah replied. They sprinted towards the base's power core, their enhanced minds already processing potential solutions. As they entered the core chamber, they found a complex array of energy conduits and control panels. "We have less than 2 minutes," Phoebe announced, her internal clock precisely tracking the countdown. Noah's eyes darted across the system, his enhanced intellect rapidly analyzing the intricate web of connections. "There," he pointed, "if we reroute the power flow through these auxiliary circuits, we can overload the self-destruct mechanism?" Phoebe nodded, her fingers already dancing across the controls. "Initiating power transfer now." The core hummed with energy, sparks flying as the power surged through new pathways. With seconds to spare, the self-destruct sequence ground to a halt. As the immediate danger passed, Noah and Phoebe turned their attention to the wealth of intelligence and technology surrounding them. They began cataloging the seized materials, their unique perspective as integrated individuals, proving invaluable in identifying key pieces of research and equipment. Hours later, as the sun began to rise over the Sahara, Noah and Phoebe emerged from the captured purist base. They squinted against the harsh light, exhausted but triumphant. Admiral Vance approached, a rare smile on her face. "Excellent work, you two. The intelligence we've gathered here will be crucial in our fight against the purists." As they boarded the transport back to New Geneva, Noah and Phoebe knew that their work was just the beginning. The raid had been a success, but it was just the beginning of a new chapter in their ongoing mission to navigate the complex realities of integration. The compound of the Integration Support and Research Facility came into view as their transport descended. Even from the air, they could see the facility buzzing with activity. News of their successful raid had clearly spread fast. As the transport touched down, Noah and Phoebe exchanged a look. They were both ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As they stepped off the transport, they were immediately surrounded by a sea of reporters and curious onlookers. "Dr. Reeves, Dr. Chen," a journalist called out, thrusting a microphone towards them. "Can you comment on the success of the raid?" Noah opened his mouth to respond, but before he could speak, Admiral Vance stepped in front of them. "All questions will be addressed at the official press conference. For now, our team needs rest and debriefing." As they made their way through the crowd, Noah noticed a group of protesters holding signs with slogans like, "Preserve our genetic heritage," and "Stop integration now." He felt a twinge of unease, realizing that their success against the purists had only intensified the debate surrounding integration. Inside the ISRF, Dr. Enbeck greeted them with a mix of relief and excitement. "We've been monitoring the situation closely," she said, leading them to a secure conference room. "The raid has had significant repercussions across the galaxy." As they settled into their seats, a holographic display flickered to life, showing news feeds from various worlds. Noah and Phoebe watched as reports of protests organized by the newly formed Genetic Heritage Preservation Alliance, GHPM, flooded in from Earth, the Nigean homeworld, and several Zorn colonies. "The GHPA is gaining traction," Phoebe observed, her brow furrowed. "Their demonstrations are mostly peaceful, but they're creating logistical challenges for integration facilities everywhere." Noah nodded, his enhanced mind rapidly processing the implications. "We need to address these concerns head-on. The fear and misinformation surrounding integration are only growing." As if on cue, Admiral Vance entered the room, her face grave. "The United Earth government has called for an emergency summit to address the integration issue. They want you both to testify." Noah and Phoebe exchanged a look, understanding the weight of this request. "When do we leave?" Noah asked. "Tomorrow morning," Admiral Vance replied. "You'll be presenting before a panel of representatives from various species. This is our chance to share our experiences and the latest research findings from the ISRF." The next day, as their transport approached the summit venue, Noah felt Phoebe's hand slip into his. The gesture, so familiar now, helped calm his nerves. The Grand Assembly Hall was packed with delegates from across the galaxy. As Noah and Phoebe took their places at the podium, they could feel the tension in the room. "Distinguished representatives," Noah began, his voice steady, "we stand before you today not as advocates for a particular ideology, but as living examples of what integration can achieve." For the next hour, they shared their personal experiences, the challenges they'd faced, and the incredible potential they discovered. Phoebe presented the latest research data from the ISRF, demonstrating the medical and scientific advancements that integration had made possible. As they concluded their testimony, a ripple of murmurs spread through the assembly. Some delegates nodded in approval, while others whispered urgently to their aides. Suddenly, Noah's enhanced senses picked up an unusual scent in the air. He glanced at Phoebe, seeing the same realization dawn on her face. "Evacuate the building immediately," Noah shouted, his voice cutting through the chatter. "There's a biological agent in the air." Security forces sprang into action, but panic had already begun to spread. Noah and Phoebe moved swiftly, using their enhanced abilities to guide people towards the exits, while simultaneously trying to locate the source of the threat. "There!" Phoebe pointed to a group of individuals attempting to slip away unnoticed. "They're carrying canisters." Noah nodded, and together they sprinted towards the suspects. With their enhanced speed and agility, they quickly overtook the group, disarming them with precise, non-lethal takedowns. As security forces secured the perpetrators, Noah and Phoebe turned their attention to containing the outbreak. They worked tirelessly, using their enhanced knowledge of biology to assist medical teams in treating those exposed to the virus. Hours later, as the situation stabilized, Noah and Phoebe found themselves once again facing a sea of cameras and reporters. This time, however, the atmosphere was markedly different. "Dr. Reeves, Dr. Chen," a reporter called out, "your quick actions saved countless lives today. How were you able to detect the threat so quickly?" Noah stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "Our enhanced abilities, gained through integration, allowed us to sense the danger before it became apparent to others. This is just one example of how integration can benefit our society as a whole." As news of the thwarted attacks spread, public opinion began to shift dramatically. The GHPA's credibility crumbled, and support for integration surged. In the days that followed, Noah and Phoebe worked tirelessly to capitalize on this shift in public sentiment. They proposed the establishment of a network of integration training centers, ITCs, across the galaxy, designed to help newly integrated individuals harness their enhanced abilities. As they presented their proposal to the United Earth government, Noah felt a sense of hope growing within him. The path ahead would be challenging, but for the first time, he believed that true acceptance of integration was within reach. Little did they know that their next challenge would take them far beyond Earth to a remote human colony where the integration process was about to take an unexpected turn. As Noah and Phoebe settled into their roles at the Integration Support and Research Facility, they found themselves at the forefront of a new era in human-alien relations. The facility buzzed with activity as scientists and researchers worked tirelessly to refine the integration process. Noah and Phoebe, with their unique first-hand experience, played a crucial role in overseeing the development of an accelerated integration protocol. On a crisp morning, as they prepared to begin the first trials of this new process, an urgent alert blared through the facility's communication systems. Noah's enhanced hearing picked up the distorted message before it even reached the main speakers. "Incoming distress call from Epsilon 9, announced the AI system. "Priority level, critical." Noah and Phoebe exchanged a glance, their minds already processing the implications. Epsilon 9 was a remote moon hosting a Nigerian research outpost, known for its cutting-edge work on Progenitor energy. The message crackled through the speakers, fragmented and barely intelligible. "Containment failure, Progenitor energy, unstable. Need immediate assistance." Without hesitation, Noah activated the facility-wide communication system. "Attention all personnel. This is Dr. Reeves. We have a situation on Epsilon 9. I need the IRT assembled and ready for immediate deployment." Phoebe was already moving, her fingers flying over a nearby console. "I'm pulling up the specs on Epsilon 9 and the fastest available starship." Within minutes, Noah and Phoebe stood in the hangar bay, surrounded by a team of elite integration response team members. The sleek, state-of-the-art starship hummed with energy, its engines primed for the journey ahead. As they boarded, Noah briefed the team. "We're dealing with a potential catastrophic failure of containment systems at the Nigerian outpost. Our primary objective is to stabilize the situation and evacuate any survivors." The ship lifted off, its advanced propulsion systems pushing it to speeds that would have been impossible just a few years ago. As they hurtled through space, Phoebe monitored the long-range scanners, her enhanced mind processing the data streams with incredible speed. "Noah," she called out, her voice tense, "I'm picking up massive energy readings from Epsilon 9. It's like nothing I've ever seen before." As they approached the moon, the true scale of the disaster became apparent. A swirling vortex of energy engulfed the research outpost, its chaotic patterns visible even from orbit. Noah's enhanced vision zoomed in on the facility below. "I'm detecting multiple life signs inside the vortex. Their genetic structures are shifting." Phoebe nodded grimly. "The Progenitor energy must be causing rapid, uncontrolled integration." As the ship entered Epsilon 9's atmosphere, turbulence rocked the cabin. Noah steadied himself, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to maintain perfect balance. "Prepare for immediate deployment," he ordered. "Full environmental suits and integration stabilizers for everyone." The moment the ship touched down, Noah and Phoebe led the charge. They stepped out onto the moon's surface, the intense energy field washing over them. Their enhanced bodies absorbed the impact, allowing them to push forward where others would have been overwhelmed. The research outpost loomed before them, its once pristine walls now warped and pulsing with ethereal light. Noah activated his suit's communication system. "Team Alpha, secure the perimeter. Beta team with us. We're going in." As they breached the facility's main entrance, chaos greeted them. Alarms blared, equipment sparked and sputtered, and disoriented researchers stumbled through the corridors, their bodies flickering with bioluminescent patterns. Noah and Phoebe moved swiftly, their enhanced strength allowing them to support and guide the affected individuals. "We need to get these people to the ship," Phoebe shouted over the din. "Their integration is progressing too rapidly." As they worked their way deeper into the facility, the energy grew more intense. Noah felt it resonating with his own integrated physiology, awakening abilities he never knew he possessed. Suddenly, a violent tremor shook the building. Cracks appeared in the walls, energy seeping through like luminous veins. The source, Noah realized, it's below us. Without hesitation, he and Phoebe plunged deeper into the heart of the facility, following the pulsing energy to its origin. They descended through levels of increasing security, bypassing locks and barriers with their combined skills. Finally, they reached the central chamber. The sight that greeted them was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. In the center of the room, suspended in a crackling field of energy, hovered a massive artifact of clearly alien origin. A progenitor artifact, Phoebe breathed, her eyes wide with wonder and apprehension. The artifact pulsed with power, each wave sending ripples through the fabric of reality itself. Surrounding it were the remains of containment equipment, now little more than twisted metal and shattered crystals. Noah's enhanced mind quickly assessed the situation. It's only partially activated, he observed. The energy, it's tearing apart the very fabric of space-time. Phoebe nodded, her own analysis reaching the same conclusion. We need to stabilize it, she said. But how? As they stood there, the energy from the artifact washed over them, resonating with their integrated physiology. In that moment, a shared understanding passed between them. We need to fully activate it, Noah said, his voice filled with a mixture of drive and trepidation. Phoebe met his gaze, understanding the immense risk they were about to undertake. Together, she said, reaching out to take his hand. As one, they stepped forward, their bodies beginning to glow with an intense bioluminescence. The closer they got to the artifact, the more they felt their consciousness expanding, tapping into powers they never knew existed. With a shared breath, Noah and Phoebe reached out and touched the progenitor artifact. A blinding flash of light erupted, engulfing them completely. For a moment, it seemed as if the entire universe held its breath. Then everything changed.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.